One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
In our community. Add on top of that new savings accounts for children that are funded with $1,000, and you see how we are investing in the future. When every American said they needed more tax relief, we stopped the Democrats' push for the largest tax increase in history and instead cut taxes for every single American. This is what happens when you have a Congress and an administration that puts America first. When we put workers, families, and small businesses first, we know that we can succeed. This is the alternative to the last administration that was America last, funding their special interests and making sure that nobody could actually get ahead. As we continue this work, we will make sure that the real results Americans deserve, higher wages, more domestic investment, and greater affordability are delivered every single day. Now, there is more work to be done. There is no doubt that it takes a long time to roll back all the failures of Bidenomics. But we aren't going to quit until the job is done, and we're going to get it done because we have a president, a vice president, and a Congress that is putting America first and the American people first. I just want to say again, in closing, what an honor and a privilege it is to represent the Lehigh Valley, my home community. You have given so much to me over the years, and I look forward to giving back to you every single day that I'm in office. Thank you again for being here. Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless, and God bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez DeRimmer.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Lehigh Valley. Good morning, Pennsylvania. It's an honor to be with you here and with the Vice President right here at Uline. As your 30th Secretary of Labor, I get to work alongside some incredible people, including your dedicated Congressman, Ryan McKenzie. Let's give him another hand. Nice job. I just want to say, Ryan, you're doing an excellent job. I know that you are fighting tirelessly to support the president's pro-worker agenda, and I cannot thank you enough for that. You know, I actually kicked off my 50-state tour, America at Work, listening right here in Pennsylvania earlier this year as we started with the backbone of American manufacturing for a simple reason. It's important to the president to build the golden age of the American industry. And that starts by hearing how your actions and our actions are impacted daily in Washington, D.C., and how it affects your lives right here at home. President Trump and Vice President Vance understand that too. They trusted me in this role because I promise to listen to the voices of the forgotten working class. I've hit 36 states, and what I'm hearing from coast to coast is a fresh sense of optimism. People are taking pride in their work again, and pride in this country, because they know we have a strong America First leaders back in the White House who finally have their backs. And common sense. Thanks to President Trump and the common sense did you write my speech? And the common sense policies of this administration, the golden age of America is on the horizon. Under Biden, workers lost over $2,900 in purchasing power as inflation rose faster than wages. But under Trump, inflation is coming down and real wages are back on track to increase by nearly $1,200 after his first full year in office. Trump's deregulatory efforts are saving $180 billion or $2,100 per family of four. And let's not forget the largest tax cut in American history. I was a former member of Congress, and I can tell you that was the biggest piece of legislation they will probably ever vote on in this lifetime. And it's for the support of the working family, the no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And thanks to the working family tax cuts, a family of four in the state of Pennsylvania will see $7,000 to $11,000 more in take-home pay. That is their money that they earned, and it should stay in their pockets. We're reversing Biden's cost of living disaster that hurt so many working families, dropping of drug prices, gas prices at the lowest in 4 years. Jobs are coming back online, and people are finally getting off the sideline. The labor participation rate is going up. We want more people to be looking for jobs and in the workforce. We just received the jobs numbers this morning. A positive 64,000 jobs were added under this administration. Here's a number to note that I think is very important, and I want you to remember this. And at your next rally, I want you to go say this. Under President Trump, 687,000 jobs have been in the private sector and have gone to native-born Americans. We have a master negotiator in the Oval Office, that shouldn't be a surprise to any of you, who is putting America interests first by striking the new trade deals to restore the U.S. as the world's manufacturing superpower. More than $18 trillion have been committed as investments into this country to hire thousands of new Americans and thousands of new jobs. Made in America is back. U.S. exports are up 6% over the last year, and the trade deficit continues to shrink. President Trump is leveling the playing field for American workers, manufacturers, creating an economy that works for you, not against you. I can tell you, at the Labor Department, we remain laser focused on putting American workers first. Under President Trump, all job gains have, as I mentioned, have gone to American-born workers. Employed today, 2.5 million American workers more than when he took office. The Department of Labor is investing in skills training and educational pathways to help the workers get their foot in the door without that needy 4-year degree. Not everyone will receive a 4-year degree, and that is pride back in America. My dad was a Teamster. I know what it was like to work hard. I know what it's like to build something with your hands, and that's what America needs. They need to know that it's okay to make a 6-figure income with a trade school, be a tradesman or woman, be a craftsman. That's what we want here in America. You all know that the future of this country won't be forged in the halls of these woke universities. It'll be at the hands of the skilled worker. We recently awarded $86 million in industry skills funds to prepare the American worker for those in-demand jobs of the future. President Trump set a goal. I talk about this all the time. 1 million active apprentices across this country. And since he has taken office, we have registered more than 300,000 new active apprentices and registered over 2,400 new programs at the Department of Labor. You know, I partnered with Secretary McMahon to help administer the CTE programs and create a streamlined federal education and workforce system. Nearly 70% of 4th and 8th graders are not proficient in reading. The current top-down structure is failing our kids, and so we're going to dismantle the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., and give the autonomy to the states and send those dollars so that we can have a direct line for the in-market demands of what the jobs are and having the skilled workforce and draw the line from A to B. It's that simple. Get these workers in the workforce. It's what they want each and every day, and we're bridging that gap for those labor market shortages so that you can have mortgage-paying jobs. Listen, as I wrap up here, I want to emphasize to all of you, it's an honor to defend your shot at the American dream. No matter your background, the industry, President Trump's Department of Labor has your back. And that's why you are so special to me, and it's special to be here today. Getting to see thriving family-owned businesses like Uline that started from the ground up. That's the American dream right here. And I'd like to now introduce who embodies that dream. He serves the American people with a deep understanding of what hardworking men and women in this country are up against and what they are capable of. He embodies the same tireless work ethic that built our great nation. He and the Second Lady share that with their children, and in turn share that with America's children. Our Vice President knows that the true heartbeat of America isn't in Washington, D.C. It's right here with you. He's doing an incredible job to help revive our manufacturing sector and ignite our economy. And it's an honor to work with him to put you, the American worker, first. Please join me in welcoming the Vice President of the United States, Mr. J.D. Vance.
All right, everybody, good morning. Good morning. There we go. We got sound. Good morning. I had to jump on early because of this J.D. Vance event was scheduled for noon. They bumped it up. A lot of news going on today, a whole lot of news. I'm trying to get everything ready and squared away. Let's get back to the show with Vice President J.D. Vance.
It is great to be here in Pennsylvania. It's a good day. Anytime you get out of Washington, D.C., and I got to tell you, I want to go to the bar and drink whatever these guys over here are drinking because they are having a good time. They're having a good time. I want to thank a few people before I get started here. First of all, I'm so honored to be joined by our wonderful Second Lady, Usha Vance, my lovely wife, Usha. I want to thank our great Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez DeRimmer, who's doing an amazing job, and she's focused on something that I think is very much close to the heart of our great workers here in Pennsylvania, which is this very simple idea that you ought to be able to raise a family and earn a good wage even if you don't go to college. We don't want to force everybody to go to college. We want to empower people who want to work with their hands to earn a good wage and do a good job, and she's fighting for that every single day. Lori's doing a great job. We have got our great Congressman, Ryan McKenzie. Ryan, please stand up and say hello to everybody. Ryan is doing a good job in Washington. He's got a great heart for the people of this district. He's only been in town for a couple of years, maybe only a year now, right? That you've been in Congress. And you see it all the time. You see it with Democrats and Republicans. Sometimes people go to Washington and forget who they serve. Not Ryan McKenzie. You are very lucky in Pennsylvania to have one of the good ones. And Ryan is helping us every single day fight for American workers. I believe, young man, shouldn't you be in school? We got a great young patriot over here. You ought to come up and take a photo afterwards. But I also want to give a shout out to Treasurer Stacey Garrity. Stacey, thanks for everything that you do, and thanks for being here today. Where is she? There we go. And of course, finally, to all the employees and the management, the good people of Uline for making it possible to be here. This is a massive facility, and I think that it speaks to what's going on in the United States of America under the past 10 months of Donald J. Trump's presidential leadership. Under this president, my friends, we are building again. We are investing in the United States of America again. You heard our Secretary of Labor talk about it. 61,000 jobs added in the month of November, and that's not all. We saw private sector wage growth grow at a rate of 4.2%. You know what that means? That means we're seeing the fastest private sector wage growth that we have seen in this country in many, many years. And we're doing it by having a president and an administration that believes in you and fights for you. That is what we're trying to do every single day. Now, I will say, as excited as I was to be here this morning, I remember when I got off the airplane, and it is cold. And, you know, like a good gentleman, I let my wife come down the steps first, and then I get to the bottom of the steps, and there's a bunch of firefighters from the great Lehigh Valley who want to take a photo with me. And obviously I love our firefighters. I'm happy to take a photo. Now here's the problem. To the right of me is all these media cameras, probably broadcasting my every moment on national television. Some of the fake news gathered with us here today. And to the left of me is these great firefighters. And there before me is a sheet of black ice. And I think to myself, if I walk over to those guys and take this photo, I am going to bust my you-know-what. I'm not going to say it because we have this very bright young man here. I don't want to teach any bad words. I don't want your mom and dad to be mad at me. So I do what any self-respecting man would do in a situation like that. I send my wife to go and take a photo with the firefighters. No, I didn't. I actually didn't. I did it the right way, but I did do sort of the Biden slow shuffle to get over there. I did not want these national cameras to catch me doing anything, you know, because if I wiped out on that runway, you all know that would be national news for the next week. Now, Joe Biden could fall walking up the steps in broad daylight in 80-degree weather. Nobody would mind it, but if me or the president do anything like that, it's going to be plastered all over the news. But now we're here, we've made it, we have not wiped out, and we're here to talk about America's economic comeback. And ladies and gentlemen, we needed an economic comeback in the United States of America. We needed it. When we talk about all the wage growth, when we talk about all the people who are coming into the United States to invest in the American worker, we've got real money, real jobs, and real opportunity. What that means for the state of Pennsylvania is that in just the last 11 months, we're creating 60,000 good-paying jobs for Pennsylvania families, and we're bringing in, just in this one Commonwealth, $100 billion of new investment into this great place. That is real opportunity for the American people. That is real wage growth for the American people. And look, I grew up in a community. I was raised by my grandmother in a community where, when I was growing up, the factories were closing down. And those good paying jobs, they weren't coming into our communities. They were getting shipped overseas by politicians in Washington, D.C. The President of the United States has set this entire administration on a different course. We are sick of rewarding companies that ship jobs overseas. We're going to reward companies that build right here in America and give Americans good wages to do it. And you already see it, my friends, you already see it in some of the numbers that we're seeing. When I talk about what we are most proud of, I probably start with what we've been able to do at the southern border, and we'll talk about that in a second. But right after that is if you go to the Biden administration, the average American family lost $3,000 of take-home pay through the terrible inflation of the Biden administration. In just 10 months of the Trump administration, the average American family has gained about $1,000 of take-home pay. Now that difference could not be starker. When Joe Biden was president for 4 years, he took $3,000 out of your pocket. And in just 10 months of the president's leadership, we have put $1,000 back in your pocket. That's what that means. And that's just the beginning, my friends. That is just the beginning. Because if you look at what we are doing every single day, you are going to have, and if this doesn't turn out to be true, I'll come back here and you can all tell me I'm wrong, but I'm telling you it's going to be true. You are going to have middle-class Americans, middle-class Pennsylvanians, some of the best tax season in 2026 that you've ever had. Because if you look at no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips. When we talk about no taxes on your auto loans if you buy an American-made car, now those are political words. I'm sure you've heard them on TV, but starting with tax season in just a couple of weeks, you're going to see that in your tax refund. That's what that means. More money in your pocket because you've got a president and a Congress that are fighting for you for a change, and that's exactly what it should be. And I gotta say, I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised by when the Democrats talk all the time about affordability. Democrats say, you know, things aren't affordable. This isn't affordable. This has gotten more expensive. Drugs have gotten more expensive. Housing's gotten more expensive. And you know what? They're right, and it was because of them. It ain't that hard. If you go back to the 4 years of the Biden administration, why did housing get so expensive, double in price during the Biden administration? It's because Joe Biden let in 20 million illegal immigrants who took homes that ought by right go to American citizens and to the people of this great state. When we talk about why did health care get so unaffordable during the Biden administration, it's because Joe Biden allowed prescription drug companies to take advantage of this country. You know, Europeans were paying way less for prescription drugs than our American citizens. It took Donald J. Trump to haul those pharmaceutical executives into the Oval Office and say, no more. Europe's going to pay more for drugs and America's going to pay less for drugs because we got to fight for the American people for a change. Why have rents gone down for 4 consecutive months? And I know they're still too high, but why have rents gone down for 4 consecutive months? Because we're starting to get those illegal aliens out of the United States of America. Those criminals, those gang members, those people who are taking homes that ought by right go to the people in this room and your children and your grandchildren. It's simple economics. If you have fewer people, fewer illegal aliens trying to buy homes, that means American citizens are going to finally be able to afford a home again. It's very, very simple economics. When you ask, why is it that we have trillions of dollars of new investment coming into the United States of America? Because we finally got a president who says, if you're going to build in America, if you're going to invest in America, we're going to make it easy for you. But if you're not going to build anything in America, if you're going to try to ship an American job overseas, then we are going to penalize you for doing something overseas that you ought to do in the United States of America. That's why we've got so much money coming in. So if you look at every single affordability crisis that we talk about in the United States of America today, it's because we inherited a nightmare of an economy from Joe Biden. the highest peacetime debt and deficits in the history of the United States of America. That blows the door off inflation. The highest energy prices in the history of the United States of America. We are in one of the great energy regions in the entire world, not just in America, in the entire world. You know why energy prices are lower? You know why gas prices have come down so much? Because we finally got an American president who wants to invest in American energy and American workers instead of green energy boondoggles that are produced overseas. Thank you. So on all these things, my point, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are making progress. And I never forget where I come from. I never forget who I serve. And I know that there is so much more progress to be made. I remember my grandmother in times like this of the holidays. Of course, I think a lot of us remember the loved ones that we've lost. I remember my dear Mamaw, that's what I called her. And I was in a particularly hard math class in high school. And she said, "What do you need to do well in this class?" My grades weren't so good. And she went out, even though she could not afford even the essentials in life, she went out and got me a calculator, a very expensive calculator, so that I could do well in this math class. I remember what it feels like for American families when you have the government take $3,000 out of your pocket through higher taxes and higher inflation. I know what it's like for a woman who's trying to support a grandson but can't afford her prescription drugs because pharmaceutical companies are taking advantage of the United States of America. I remember what it's like when you have to choose between putting food on the table or getting the prescription that you need to stay healthy. And that is not a life that Donald Trump or I want for the citizens in the greatest country in the world. We want you. We want you to be able to afford the things that you have to give your kids and your grandkids a good life. We want you to check your credit card statement and for that to be an annoyance, something you got to do rather than something that causes a lot of stress and anxiety. We don't want a single parent or grandparent to have to look at their checking account and decide whether they're going to buy food or whether they're going to buy medicine this month. We are fighting for you every single day. And I don't want you to think for 1 second that because Joe Biden gave us the worst economy in the world that we forget it. No, we know. We know exactly what we were left with. We know exactly the consequences that it's caused for so many of our great families all across Pennsylvania. And I promise you, there is no person more impatient to solve the affordability crisis than Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States. You know, I hear these guys, I hear these Democrats talk about this as if you were going to fix these problems in a single day. It reminds me of probably the third day in the Oval Office where eggs had gotten so expensive under the Biden administration. And you look, I'm the Vice President of the United States. I'm a very blessed man, but we have 3 little kids who eat a lot of eggs. And so I know the price of a dozen eggs. So the price of eggs got really high during the Biden administration. It was the third day in the White House, and some reporter said, "What are you doing about the price of eggs? Haven't you seen they're so expensive?" And the president's like, "Lady, we've been here for 3 days. It takes a little bit of time to fix something that was so fundamentally broken." And so when I hear the Democrats talk about the affordability crisis that they created, it's a little bit like, you know, Charles Manson criticizing violent crime. Look in the mirror, my friend. You are the cause of the problem, and Donald J. Trump's administration is the solution to the problem that you created. I want to say one more thing here, and then I want to take some questions from the reporters, and then we'll have to hit the road. But, you know, this is such an amazing time to be in Pennsylvania. As much as I complain about the cold, and I do, as much as I almost busted my rear end on the tarmac today, I love being in the great state of Pennsylvania during this time of year. I love Christmas time. I love the beautiful trees. I love the snow on the hills. I love everything about this state this time of year. It reminds me a lot of my home state of Ohio for reasons that you all know well. But here's the thing. During this Christmas time, I think that we got to remember that we have a lot in the United States of America to be grateful for. And I am at the very top of the list of people who have a lot to be grateful for. I'm very grateful to my beautiful wife and our healthy kids. I'm very grateful to have this job, for the trust that all of you have put in me. I'm very grateful that we have a president of the United States who would literally take a bullet for this country, and in fact actually did. But I just ask all of you to count your blessings this holiday season, because there is a lot good out there. There's a lot that we're still working to fix, but I just wanted to say, from the President of the United States, from the entire administration, my friends in Pennsylvania, Merry Christmas to you. I hope your families have a Happy New Year. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Please sit down, sit down. We're not done yet. We're not done yet, please. All right, we're gonna take a few questions from the reporters, and we're gonna start with the most egregious of the fake news. Is that right, Luke? No, we're gonna start with the local reporters who have some integrity. So let's start with our local cameraman, and then we'll move on to the fake news if we have some time. Sir or ma'am?
Hi, I'm Jackson White from WITF in Harrisburg.
Hey, Jackson, how you doing?
I'm good. So many Americans are still reporting that they're experiencing high costs of groceries and other living expenses. How does the administration plan to lower those costs, and how long might that take for them to experience those lower costs?
Well, Jackson, as I said earlier, I think the best way to understand this is if the American people had $3,000 taken out of their pocket, it's going to take a little bit of time before they really feel like that money's been put back in their pocket. That just takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work. And I think the best way to do it is, on the one hand, you got to lower costs. That's why that we're lowering regulations on American energy to get gas and groceries down. Now, how does energy connect to groceries? Because if the truck that takes the groceries to the grocery store is paying out the wazoo for diesel fuel, then that means every American's going to be paying more at the grocery. If the farmers who actually grow our food are paying way too much for fuel and fertilizer, that means American citizens are not going to be able to afford their groceries. So if we lower the price of energy, we lower the price of groceries, we lower the price of gasoline, and importantly, we bring good jobs back into this country so that wages go up. That's how you give people a shot at the American dream again. That is our job. That is what we ran on. That is what we promised to do. And after 11 months, again, the average American family is $1,000 richer than they were 11 months ago. Now, if you had $3,000 taken out of your pocket by the Biden administration, of course you're still struggling to get by. Rome was not built in a day, but we are committed every single day to making every single American who works hard and plays by the rules, we want them to get a little bit richer every single day. And we do believe that if we keep on making the right decisions, we keep on investing in the United States of America, we are going to find that the American citizens can afford a good life in their country again. That's our obligation, and that's what we're trying to do.
Good morning, Mr. Vice President. My name is Thomas Shortell. I'm a reporter with Lehigh Valley Public Media. Congressman Ryan McKenzie and a number of other battleground Republicans have been pushing to have tax credit extensions on the ACA. I was curious what your thoughts were on their efforts. Is that something that the administration is behind?
So first of all, just on healthcare costs, if you look at some of the worst healthcare costs for American citizens, the biggest drivers of increased healthcare costs, it is the cost of prescription drugs. It simply got way too high, and it got too high because we allowed other countries to take advantage of it. I'm talking about the same exact drug that would cost $300 in Great Britain or $250 in France would cost an American $5,000 or $10,000. We were subsidizing the entire world's prescription drugs, and no president had the courage to put a stop to it. And Ryan McKenzie has been very supportive on this. Nobody had the courage to put a stop to it until Donald J. Trump said no. We are done getting fleeced on pharmaceuticals. Europe has to pay up so that our great American citizens can pay less. That's the most important thing that we've done. Now, you are right that the health insurance market, the health insurance system is totally broken. It's been broken for 15 years, and we're working with Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, to come up with a solution. You talked about premium support. We think that everything should be on the table, but Democrats and Republicans, they got to work together and put something on the president's desk to sign. Now, I will tell you, we've been involved in probably 10 different healthcare bills. You know, we've been talking to Ryan about it. We've been talking to my friend Bernie Moreno from the state of Ohio. We've been talking to Susan Collins about it. We've even been talking to a few of the reasonable Democrats who are putting ideas out there. But Congress has got to get us something to lower the cost of health insurance for American citizens. The Obamacare system was broken. Donald J. Trump wants to fix it, but Congress has got to step up here.
Mr. Vice President, thanks for taking my question. I'm Hannah Brandt from News Nation. As I'm sure you know, recent polling shows most Americans don't approve of how the Trump administration is handling the economy. I hear what you're saying, that it's going to take time to fix things, but the political reality is that the midterms are next year. Are you worried that affordability is a political liability for your administration and for Republicans?
Look, I'm not worried about the politics because I believe fundamentally in the wisdom of the American people. When we go out there and we tell our story that gasoline and energy got way too high under Joe Biden's administration, but we've lowered the cost of energy, the American people will understand that. The American people know that. When we go out there and talk about the fact that the affordability crisis that happened under Joe Biden's administration made a lot of Americans poorer and working every single day to put money back in their pocket, I think the American people will understand and agree with that. Of course, they're going to be the ones who make the final decision. But I feel very confident that if we keep wages high, we keep energy prices low, we keep on chipping away at the affordability crisis created by Joe Biden's administration, yes, I believe the American people are going to reward us because the American people are smart. They know Rome wasn't built in a day. They know what Joe Biden broke is not going to get fixed in a week. We got to stay with it. We got to keep on working on bringing good jobs and money back into the United States of America. And that it already has paid major dividends for the American people. It's going to pay a lot more in the year to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. This is Elizabeth Mitchell from the Daily Signal. The health care bill released Friday by the GOP doesn't include health savings accounts. Are you comfortable with that? And would you like to see the GOP use the special reconciliation process to address health care costs and other affordability concerns?
Well, one of the things the president has said is we have the weirdest health insurance system in the world, where we tax money from all of these great Americans out here, and then we give boatloads of money to the insurance companies. Why don't we give that money to the American people and let them buy insurance that works for them and their families? I mean, if you look at insurance company profits, they have been skyrocketing ever since Obamacare was passed. The insurance companies have done very well under Obamacare. You know who hasn't done well under the Obamacare system of giving boatloads of money to the American people? All of you. That's what's broken about this system. It's good for insurance companies and bad for Americans. We are trying to get to a healthcare policy that's good for Americans. We don't care. If the insurance companies do well, great. If they do poorly, that's their problem. We are here to fight for the American worker and make health insurance affordable for them. So we're going to keep on working at it. You mentioned one piece of legislation. I've probably read a dozen different pieces of legislation that are floating out there. Again, it's going to come to the point where Republicans and Democrats have to figure out what can be passed together. Of course, the president is going to drive a lot of that process. We're still reviewing some of these legislative texts as they come up. We believe that we can solve this problem. But again, the nature of our system, we're going to work with Congress to make sure we get something that's good for the American people through the Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. This is Irie Sentner from Politico. President Trump last week gave his economy a grade of A++++. What grade would you give the economy today?
A++++. Look, Here's the simple fact of the matter. Again, you have to understand all of this stuff in context. You have to ask yourself, what has the Trump economy been able to build over the past 10 or 11 months, given what we inherited from the Biden administration? Ladies and gentlemen, We had the worst inflation crisis in 50 years in the United States of America under Joe Biden. We had the worst trade deficit in the history of the United States under Joe Biden. We had debt and deficits, the highest in the history of American peacetime in 250 years. What we have been able to do, higher wages, lower inflation, a massive amount of investment and money coming into the United States of America, that stuff is incredible. And that is something to be proud of. What I will say is that given how bad things got under the Biden administration, we're going to keep on working every single day to make sure that Americans feel the benefits of the Trump economy. I am certain that we've already seen great benefits for the American people, but we got a lot of rebuilding to do over the next 3 years, and the president is committed more than anybody to making sure that we do it.
Hi there, Vice President J.D. Vance. This is Rob Manch with 69 News, WFMZ. The jobs report you mentioned this morning, you said 60,000 jobs were added in November. However, it also said 100,000 jobs were lost in October, and the unemployment rate currently stands at 4.6%, which is the highest since the pandemic. So my question is, how do you inspire companies to hire people? If people don't have jobs, income tax cuts aren't going to help them.
Well, first of all, the idea that income tax cuts don't help is ridiculous. If more people have more money to spend in their pocket, that's good for businesses, it's good for families, it's good for everybody. It's one of the ways why we do this. When we talk about 100,000 jobs, you're talking about government sector jobs, and that is in a lot of ways the entire story of what we're trying to do under President Trump's leadership. We want to fire bureaucrats and hire these great Americans out here. That's what we're trying to do. Now, you mentioned, this is an important point, you mentioned the unemployment rate ticking up to 4.6%. I think this is a very, very important point, because you know what that means? What that data shows, you got to get in the weeds a little bit. The unemployment rate only counts the people who are looking for work. So let's say you dropped out of work 2 years ago, you haven't been searching for a job. Well, you're unemployed, but you're not counted in the official unemployment statistics. What you're seeing as wages go up, as more investment comes into our country, is that people who weren't looking for work under Biden's administration are getting out there and looking for work in the Trump administration. That's exactly what we want. We want to get people off the sidelines and give them a good job with good pay, and we're seeing a lot of evidence that that is happening under President Trump's leadership. We'll take one more question.
Mr. Vice President, Jacob Bogage from the Washington Post. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you.
Unfortunately, I have to ask a bit of an off-topic question from affordability, because news events do intervene, and that is the interviews that White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles gave to Vanity Fair, in which she's quoted as referring to you as, excuse me, and again, not my words, sir, but a conspiracy theorist of a decade, and described your transformation from someone who once opposed President Trump to now his vice president as an act of political expediency. And I'd like to give you the chance to respond to that, sir.
Well, first of all, if Susie, I'll trust what you said. I haven't looked at the article. I of course have heard about it. But conspiracy theorist, sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true. And by the way, Susie and I have joked in private and in public about that for a long time. For example, I believed in the crazy conspiracy theory back in 2020 that it was stupid to mask 3-year-olds at the height of the COVID pandemic, that we should actually let them develop some language skills. You know, I believed in this crazy conspiracy theory that the media and the government were covering up the fact that Joe Biden was clearly unable to do the job. And I believed in the conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was trying to throw his political opponents in jail rather than win an argument against his political opponents. So, At least on some of these conspiracy theories, it turns out that a conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it. And that's my understanding.
That's what I always say.
Now, look, I do want to say something about Susie, though, because, again, having not read this article, Susie is a person I've come to know very, very well. And, you know, a lot of you probably ask yourself, what is it like behind the scenes? What's going on, actually, behind the scenes of the Trump administration? And I'll tell you, the president is exactly in private who he is in public. Like, I'll tell you a little story. Maybe a week or so ago, I walk into the Oval Office, and Marco and I are sitting there talking with the president about something. He says, stop. And he looks at our shoes and says, you guys have terrible shoes. So he goes and gets a shoe catalog. And remember, this is the Christmas season, so the president's got some holiday cheer. He goes and gets a shoe catalog and gets his favorite shoes and orders like 4 pairs of shoes for me and 4 pairs of shoes for Marco, because he's like, you know, we need our vice president or secretary of state to look their very best. And, you know, then we went back to talking about whatever major, international issue we were talking about. Again, he is exactly in private who he is in public. That's not true of most people in Washington, D.C. It's not. And I've seen so many people who will say one thing to the president's face, Democrats and Republicans, and then will do the exact opposite behind the scenes. You know why I really, you know what they are, and you know why I really love Susie Wiles? Because Susie is who she is in the president's presence. She's the same exact person when the president isn't around. I've never seen Susie Wiles say something to the president and then go and counteract him or subvert his will behind the scenes. And that's what you want in a staffer. Because as much as I love Susie, the American people didn't elect any staffer. They elected the president of the United States. And what you want, and what you want in a staffer is a person who understands they are there to effectuate the will of the American people, and they're there to follow the orders of the duly elected commander-in-chief of the United States. And Susie Wiles, we have our disagreements. We agree on much more than we disagree, but I've never seen her be disloyal to the president of the United States, and that makes her the best White House chief of staff that I think the president could ask for. And the last thing I'll say is, if any of us have learned a lesson from that Vanity Fair article, I hope that the lesson is we should be giving fewer interviews to mainstream media outlets. So with that lesson internalized, I'm going to stop taking questions and just leave you with one final note. And again, it's just a note of gratitude. This is the coolest job I've ever had. Agree with us or disagree with us, I'm sure that every single person in this room made something happen to get me to this job. You went out there and voted. Maybe you persuaded one of your relatives to vote, maybe even volunteered or knocked on doors or made phone calls for us. I will never forget that my job every single day is to make it so that you guys can have a safe and prosperous life in this country that all of us love. Thank you. Thank you. We inherited a mess, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to show.
Oops. Looks like the feed just messed up. Hold on a second. Yeah, everybody. All right. For some reason, the feed went down and they, hold on. Yeah, everybody lost the feed at the same time. In any event, that was J.D. Vance speaking at Uline up in Pennsylvania. I'm a customer of Uline. It's a great company. They do all kinds of packing and products and boxes and all kinds of things. They're fantastic. So I love what he said. We're going to address a couple of things that he said, and then I'm going to go on. I've got a press conference. There's so much going on. Got a press conference with Mike Johnson that was going on at the same time as J.D. Vance was talking, and so I've got that to show you. And then I've got a whole bunch of news to talk about. And then at 2 o'clock, Caroline Leavitt is going to be coming on television for a little bit. We're going to talk about that, and then we'll be done. But in between, that's a whole lot of stuff for us to be talking about. So that wasn't just my feed. It seems like the entirety of the feed that they were showing just went down. I find it odd that the vice president was talking And the news networks, now that I'm here in the new studio and I've got everything set up and I can see, of course, CNN, MSNBC, they don't want to talk about it, but I found it odd that even Fox cut away from that. Very, very interesting. So in any event, that's where we are. I will be back in 90 seconds.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know, we've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver. All right, so let's cover a couple things that JD was talking about. One of the things that obviously the press has a problem with, it is a big number, and we're going to talk about that after the Mike Johnson Republican GOP press conference. But he said that 100, and notice how he phrased the question. He said that over 100,000 jobs were lost. And the JD Vance had to correct him. He knew he was lying when he made that assertion. And JD Vance, if you heard it, he said, no, we had 100,000 government jobs that have been lost, which was the objective all along. That's what we wanted to do, was to shrink government. But the reporter wasn't being honest at all about the numbers. Tried to play gotcha, and luckily JD Vance had the information. Then, in addition to that, we're going to get into this whole Susie Wiles thing, because what a hatchet job that they tried to do on Susie Wiles. How they take things out of context. The one thing that JD Vance said that was correct is just stop talking to these people. They're not looking to report accurately. They're looking to report to put a different slant on it to completely make you look bad. And she responded. We're going to get to that in a second. And then some of you guys might be wondering, why is Barry going to show the Mike Johnson press conference? Because one, and it's always that one, is to let everybody know what was said. Because I looked on television, nobody's talking about it. You look on Twitter and there's snippets and that's it. In 3 weeks, the Obamacare subsidies go away. And so right now, the messaging behind the Obamacare subsidies going away is extremely important. They're leaving out the fact that that law only exists because you and me have to pay for it. The fact that they say subsidies tells you that the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, isn't affordable whatsoever. There's nothing affordable when it takes somebody else's money to pay for it. It's sort of like saying things are free. Mondami's going to find out about that. Oh, things are free. We're going to give away. No, there's no such thing as free. Just means that you're shifting the burden of payment over to somebody else. And that's just not right. And the media is covering for all these people and everything else. And then I'm going to talk to you, interestingly, about something that, maybe some of you guys saw I posted about Rob Reiner. And many of you obviously saw what happened with what President Trump posted. And I knew when he posted it, there was an angle there someplace that he knows about, that nobody else knows about, that he was communicating with somebody that you didn't know about. And I'm going to get into that in depth as well. So let me go to the Mike Johnson presser first here, and let's listen to that because there were some good nuggets as well.
Well, good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. It's good to see everybody. I want to begin today by addressing this week's tragedy. Because of hate, anti-Semitism, and terrorism, lives were lost in Syria, Australia, and at Brown University. My prayers are with the family of these victims, and I stand with so many who hope the light of Hanukkah drives out the horrific hate that we've seen. Now, turning to the topic this week, which is one of the topics, which is healthcare. Let me begin by being very clear and very honest about the state of healthcare today. The Democrats' healthcare program has failed. And I want to remind everybody, what's the name of the healthcare program? Obamacare. This was a Democrat program, and I'm finally excited to see that the Democrats now have got on board with us that the affordable health care is anything but affordable. So, again, Republicans stand united to fix the problem again. But let's not forget where the root of the problem started. Democrats broke it, we will fix it, and happily to do that. Most Americans can't afford Democrats' insurance plan. The plans are riddled with waste, with fraud, with abuse, and if we're being honest, they only work for one group, big insurance companies. Democrats' health care plan doesn't work, it's never worked. So Republicans are pursuing options that do things a little bit differently. First, we're working to fundamentally lower costs through reforms like cost-sharing reductions. You'll see a common theme, lowering costs versus subsidies. We want to lower premiums for all Americans. Second, we're proposing options that actually expand access to all Americans. When Democrats passed their disastrous health care law in 2010, they promised that if you like your plan, you can keep it. They promised choice. They promised you low costs. Not a single one of those promises were true. Not one. In fact, healthcare premiums have risen over 60% since the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. And I ask you this, profitability from the insurance companies are 600% greater since Obamacare. Has your income increased 600%? Ask yourself that. I know mine hasn't. Here's the difference. Republicans are fighting for a solution. Democrats actually want this issue. They want health care to be an issue. Republicans actually want solutions for Americans to bring down premiums, not subsidies. That's why Democrats are refusing to rally around real reforms. Instead, they're embracing the very broken system of which they created. But this has been true all year. Democrats have pushed political issues while Republicans have actually delivered solutions. No one's talking about the border today, right? Why is it? It's because we fixed it. The border's closed. People are safe. But you don't hear anyone talking about that because Republicans fixed it. Republicans delivered bigger paychecks by eliminating taxes on tips, taxes on overtime, taxes on Social Security. Republicans delivered lower gas prices by cutting regulation and expanding permitting reform. Time and time again, Republicans delivered results for the American people, real results. And we're just getting started. When we return in the new year, we're going to see a continued focus and push for lower costs and bigger paychecks because that's what the American people need from us. That's what they want from us. Now, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Representative Marionette Miller-Meeks, who is a veteran and a doctor who's actually been the leading voice here in the Republican healthcare solution. Marionette?
Well, I thank Chairwoman McClain, but also Speaker Johnson, Leaders Scalise, Whip, Emmer. It's an honor to stand with the House Republican leadership to talk about one of the biggest issues facing American families today, and that's the rising cost of health care. As Chairwoman McClain said, I'm an Army veteran. I was both a nurse and a physician, and I'm the only member of Congress to have served as the state director of the Public Health Department. Not only is this issue important to me, I started my journey as a doctor because I was burned at 15 years old. So it was healthcare and the need for healthcare that drove what I do today. And I spent my career treating patients and fixing broken systems, solving problems, and I can tell you, thanks to the Democrats' failed policy, which they now admit, our healthcare system went from ill to the ICU. For 15 years, the Unaffordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, has done the opposite of what it promised. President Obama promised to lower premiums by $2,500 and to bend the cost curve down. Has that happened? No. Not in the past 15 years, and it won't happen if we just continue to pass subsidies on to profitable health insurance companies. It doesn't even include out-of-pocket cost. It's not sustainable, and it's not working. Republicans want to lower health care costs for everyone, not just a select few, and not just to continue to subsidize profitable insurance companies. Our plan, the Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act, is the Republican solution to this crisis. It doesn't throw more taxpayer dollars at insurance companies. It puts patients and doctors in the driver's seat. Our bill lowers premiums by 11% by funding cost-sharing reductions the right way, not just through COVID-era bailouts that benefited only big insurers. That's up to $1,871 in savings for families each year and over $36 billion in taxpayer savings. We're delivering real PBM reform to stop middlemen from inflating drug prices. Even in my own state, my PBM transparency bill that passed in 2019 when I was a state senator, one of our counties reported that they saved $80,000 last year through the transparency alone. We want to give small businesses the ability and the power to negotiate better deals. That alone will save taxpayers $2 billion, but most importantly, save small businesses. We're expanding association health plans by allowing small businesses and self-employed workers to team up to expand choices, which result in premiums going down by as much as 30%, even those small businesses that are in the exchanges. As we're strengthening choice arrangements so more small businesses can afford to offer coverage and more workers can choose a plan that fits their lives and their budgets. This is a plan for working Americans, not for profitable insurance companies. It's about lowering costs, increasing access, and restoring sanity to our healthcare system. Most importantly, it is a plan that lowers healthcare costs for everyone and puts patients and doctors in the driver's seat. Thank you, and I look forward to getting this bill across the finish line and to the American people.
Like our conference chair, I want to start by offering my condolences to the families and the victims of several tragic events over the weekend. The shooting at Brown University that took the lives of two promising young students. The vicious ISIS attack on our service members in Syria claimed 3 American lives. And finally, the horrific anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Australia that killed 15 innocent people at a Hanukkah celebration. Our hearts are heavy as we grieve the evil that was put on display this past weekend, and we continue to pray for the full recovery of those injured and for the comfort of the families whose lives are now forever changed. Now, turning our attention to the House Republican agenda. This year, Republicans delivered one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in our lifetime. The Working Families Tax Cut Act, passed by the House Republicans and signed into law by President Trump, achieved historic America First victories, such as no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors, an increased child tax credit, and Trump savings accounts for newborn children. 2026 is gearing up to be the year of deeper pocketbooks and lower costs for the American people. Thanks to this landmark legislation, tax refunds could increase by $1,000 per taxpayer next year. That's more money in your pocket for you to invest, save, and grow. Waitresses, law enforcement officers, and parents will have more of their hard-earned dollars to put food on the table and to support their families. Not only did our bill deliver the largest tax cut for middle-class Americans, it also addressed rampant waste, fraud, and abuse in programs like Medicaid and SNAP. As we have all witnessed with the fraud scandals coming out of our state of Minnesota, these programs have long been ripe for fraud. But House Republicans and Donald Trump implemented common sense reforms to strengthen the system to benefit the people who need it the most, not fraudsters who sent millions to terrorists abroad. Which brings me to addressing the failure of my governor, Tim Walz. We anxiously await Tim Walz's response to House Oversight Committee Chairman Jamie Comer regarding what he knew about the $1 billion in fraud. Walz has had 7 years to address and stop the fraud. It wasn't until President Trump made this a national issue that Walz started to pretend that he cares about his constituents' tax dollars supporting a terrorist group in Somalia. Accountability is coming, Governor. Our dishonest, failed governor must and will answer for his complete incompetence. With that, I'll turn it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Before Steve Scalise talks, I just got to say two things. One, I just moved into a new studio. I know this microphone here has a little bit of issue. My audio guy is coming. That'll get fixed, but I'm trying to work through it. Number two, the video that you're hearing, that was the sound at their press conference. I can't do anything. I mean, I could download it and then edit it and do some sweetening on it, but this is the sound of their video and how it was, sent out this morning. So I'm going to fix mine. Maybe it makes me talking like this, but in any event, we're going to have some treatments on my microphone, probably by tomorrow, and then we'll get this thing fixed up as well.
Thank you, Wes. My prayers go out to all those killed in so many different horrible tragedies. I mean, here in America, Brown University, you look at our two Army soldiers that were killed, the anti-Semitic attacks on the other side of the globe. Just remind you, during this Christmas season, this Hanukkah season, it's a special time. It's a time we celebrate, but it's also a time where evil still lurks here and all around the globe. And we just pray for those who have been murdered, harmed, injured. We pray for those who have evil in their hearts, that God can touch them and hopefully remove that evil so that they don't go harm innocent people. This week here in the House, as we finish our work for the year, we're taking up some very important bills. And start with the SPEED Act. We've heard complaints from members all across the country that know that just trying to build things in America, road projects, bridges, pipelines to move energy, anything you're trying to do, more and more laws are getting in the way. NEPA is a heavily abused law that delays a lot of the projects that ought to be built. Bruce Westerman and his committee have done incredible work to bring a bipartisan bill that starts to address the abuses here in NEPA so that we can actually build things in America again. You think about the cost savings that would come if it only takes 2 years instead of 10 years to build a major project. And we all know what's happening all across America, why so many projects are shelved in many cases or take so long to be built because of the abuses of some of these laws, like NEPA, Endangered Species Act, Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act. All of these laws are being heavily abused. So this is a really important first step, getting the SPEED Act passed to get real, meaningful permitting reform. And then, of course, Dr. Miller Meeks talked about her bill, which is such an important step to lower costs in health care for all Americans, 100% of Americans. While Democrats only care about bailing out insurance companies and focusing on less than 10% of Americans that are in the Unaffordable Care Act, we're focused on lowering premiums for all Americans. And that's what you're going to see on the floor this week. You know, you think about association health plans, which have been proven to give people more options to lower costs. The Choice Act, which, you know, while everybody complains, they say, why would I watch TV commercials? I see this gecko lizard, and I see the emu, and I see all these other animals out there selling health. They're selling car insurance. They're selling homeowners insurance. Why aren't they selling health insurance? Well, that's because the laws at the federal level prohibit the ability for people to have choices to get people trying to offer them lower cost products for health insurance.
See, I wanted to stop there because I bet you that's something a lot of people don't know. They don't know that there is a restriction on these companies being able to market health insurance. And he's completely right. Every football game, everything you see, it's progressive, the emu. And on the other side, you've got Geico, and now we've got the State Farm guy. State Farm, Geico, Progressive, all of these companies can do anything they want from a marketing perspective to sell you car insurance and bundle insurance and every other kind of insurance. You see Select Quote on television selling you life insurance. All of these things can be sold, but the Democrats and the Republicans in the past have not allowed health insurance to be marketed the same way. God knows, now that I've turned 65, Medicare is all over television. Medicare, home insurance, hurricane insurance, everything can be sold across state lines. You get to choose who you want as your insurance company, except health insurance. And one of the things I think is a losing argument that the Democrats are going to keep trying to push is they're not addressing cost. Cost doesn't matter. Premiums don't matter to the people that vote for Democrats. Cost and premiums matter to you. They matter to me. It doesn't matter to Democrat voters because they're not paying anything. The reason they have the subsidy is so that the costs never affect them. So while the Republicans are talking premiums and costs, you'll never hear that from the Democrat side. They're only talking to the people who can't afford anything. And so they're pushing that and pushing that. And I mean, I've met people who pay $20, $25, or nothing for insurance you and I can't get. And that's because of the subsidies, and that's because of the inability for us to market insurance nationwide.
Imagine if, for example, with Choice Act, where you can run through a health savings account, the ability where if you get your health insurance through your employer, if you're able to go find a better plan, if somebody could compete for your business and offer you a lower deductible plan with lower co-payments for your families, right now you can't go buy that product. We create those options with the bill that we're bringing to the floor tomorrow, the PBM reform that Dr. Miller Meeks talked about, where you can actually have lower prescription drug costs, again, for 100% of Americans. This is something that our three committees of jurisdiction have been working on for a long time. And yet, while Democrats only want to bail out insurance companies while premiums go up, we're focused on having lower premium options, lower cost options for 100% of Americans. So another busy week where we're going to be focusing on helping families that are struggling under the weight of all the damage that President Biden did. President Trump is working to lower costs. President Trump wants to see these bills on his desk. And we're going to work to deliver here in the House. And if I don't see you between now and then, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Speaker of the House.
I rarely get to raise the podium, but I'm going to take it. Good morning, everybody. Thank you to Dr. Miller Meeks for joining us on what is our last leadership press conference of the year. And I just want to say to all of you, press corps, thanks for being here each week and covering all of this. It's been a hugely historic week, year in so many ways, and a hugely consequential Congress, and you've got a lot to cover. So we do, as everybody said, wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and hope you get some well-deserved rest over the short holiday. Since Congress reopened, following the end of the Democrat shutdown, the longest in American history, Republicans have passed, since we came back, 41 pieces of legislation, and of course, as you heard this morning, we're set to pass even more. Chief among them is the Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act. It is aptly and appropriately named because that's exactly what it's going to do, as everybody has explained this morning. If you recall, Democrats shut the government down and kept it closed for 43 days so that Chuck Schumer could get political cover from the grassroots of his party. Remember that he had voted for the same CR just several months earlier in March, and the same vehicle came forward and suddenly changed his tune, and that is because he caught a lot of political backlash for it. So he decided instead to shut the government down and fight. Well, everybody saw how obvious and how dangerous that gambit was. And so the Democrats tried to spin their selfish political decision to claim the whole thing was always about, quote, fighting for health care affordability. But that claim never made any sense because it ignores the very simple facts of the situation. It is the Democrats' Unaffordable Care Act that broke America's health care system, as has been recounted this morning. And it's the Democrats who have refused every good faith Republican effort to fix it along the way. But this is 15 years into this saga that the American people have been drugged through because the Democrats decided 15 years ago to break the system. They insisted when they passed the Unaffordable Care Act that it would reduce premiums, it would provide more choice and higher quality and all of that. And none of that ever happened. In fact, quite the opposite effect is what we have seen. All this was foreseeable, and that's why Republicans didn't support it. Premiums have skyrocketed, the quality of care has plummeted in so many places and in so many cases around the country, and fraud is absolutely rampant in the system, and it is costing everyone dearly. Yes, there is a health care affordability problem in America. It's a very serious problem for almost every family. But it is an indisputable fact that the Democrats caused that problem, and Republicans are the ones having cleaned it up. For 15 long years, Americans have now faced skyrocketing premiums, fewer quality choices, inefficient care, and widespread fraud, waste, and abuse. Benchmark premiums on the Obamacare marketplace for every plan, listen to this, have increased 80% overall since 2014, and they're continuing to rise. The Unaffordable Care Act marketplace has resulted in lower quality plan offerings and less consumer choices today. Fraud is absolutely rampant. Paragon Health is one of the analyst groups, and they estimate there's over 6.4 million people who are improperly enrolled in the Obamacare exchange. And a recent GAO study, the Government Accountability Office, found some staggering facts. It proved what we all know intuitively about the fraud that's involved in this program. They found that Obamacare's subsidy system lacks even the most basic guardrails to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. And I think that study is something that you should all dig into. It should be on the front page of every newspaper because it is shocking, alarming. Over the last 2 years, for example, the investigators at the GAO, Government Accountability Office, they did a little experiment. They in 24 different cases, they applied for Obamacare subsidies. They did it fraudulently by intent. So 24 applications with no Social Security data attached, none of the information that's necessary to actually apply, no citizenship proof attached, and none of the income documents and all the things that are supposed to be applied and included in an application. Now, guess what? Out of the 24, 23 of them were approved. And they've been paid tens of thousands of dollars, some of them as recently as September of this year.
See, that's one of the things I'm sure you guys think about as well, is if you know there's fraud, if you've proved there's fraud, if you got the evidence and the reports of it that there's fraud, then why aren't you stopping the fraud? And I completely understand each and every one of you who says, what the heck is going on? How is this going to continue? Why is it going to continue? It has been a year. We are at December, what are we at? Today's December 16th. There's been 12 months of exposure, 12 months of exposing fraud after fraud after fraud. I don't think any of us needs any more reports. I don't think any of us needs to be convinced that they've been stealing from us. The one thing that we need to be convinced of is that you're going to do something about it. He mentioned that this was the last press conference of the year, and that shouldn't be. That shouldn't be at all. There should be another press conference next week saying Ilhan Omar and Keith Ellison and Tim Waltz have been brought in on charges. There should be another press conference next week that tells us that the insurance companies have got to pay back so much billions to the American people. I don't need any more reports. I don't need any more press conferences. Maybe that's why we're not getting the message out, because people are already convinced. We've been screwed. We've been completely screwed. Now, what we want to know is, how is it going to get fixed? And so what we're coming up against, I want you guys to be completely aware, because the government got shut down a couple months ago, or whatever it was. It's going to get shut down again. I want you to understand everything we went through with the previous shutdown. It's barreling towards that again. All they did was kick the can down the road, and here we come to mid-January, and guess what? We're going to be right in the same place. And more than likely, the Democrats at this point feel they have nothing to lose, and the government will shut down. I always talk about make sure you understand where the puck is going to be. Well, I want you to be completely aware that in a couple weeks, we're going to do it all over again. We are going to see the government shut down. No doubt about it. There's no way the Democrats are going to back off, because they've got nothing to lose. And we see how feckless these people have been in terms of actually doing something. So get ready. I think it's going to happen again.
Tracking all of this fraud, wondering, hoping if anybody will ever pay any attention to it and stop it. That's not the only thing they found. The report also found that in 2023, 29,000 Social Security numbers were used by multiple persons. In 2024, 68,000 Social Security numbers used by multiple people to bilk the system, to defraud the system, and to take dollars to themselves.
It drives me absolutely nuts. 69,000, 50,000, 100,000. I don't care how many tens of thousands of people stole that money. It landed in somebody's account. Somebody spent it. By now, you should be able to trace it. You should be able to know who took the money, how did they get the money, who approved it. I don't like getting angry at people, especially in politics, because I realize they're just politicians. But I think at this point we all have fraud fatigue. That's what I'm going to coin it. Fraud fatigue. We're over it. We know it already. We've seen this movie over and over and over. We're watching reruns. I don't think at this point these guys are capable of doing anything about it. We know as he's sitting there talking to reporters, they're probably checking their phones, probably talking to each other, wondering what their next meeting they got to get to. They don't care. They're not going to report it. So I don't understand why you're telling them. You might as well just go on someplace and you just call all MAGA, but now MAGA's over it. We don't care anymore about the press conferences. I'm ready to cut this short because we all have heard it over and over again. It seems the only person taking action is President Trump and J.D. Vance.
You had, in one case, there was over 120 individuals using the same Social Security number to get these benefits, and it was never stopped. The GAO also found that more than $94 million last year alone was sent to insurers on behalf of people who are already deceased. It's a serious, serious problem in the system. It's why the costs are so high, and this is the system that Democrats in Congress want to extend without any reform. We just can't have that. The Washington Post summarized all this best in one simple sentence. They said, quote, "The real problem is that the Affordable Care Act was never actually affordable." That's the problem. America's healthcare system should be the envy of the world. Instead, it's the most expensive in the world, and the American people are not getting any healthier because of all this madness. A new Gallup poll released yesterday found that 70% of Americans have a negative outlook on our healthcare system for all the obvious reasons. All Americans deserve a healthcare system that puts patients first, one that meets their needs with more access, more choice, and more affordable quality care. And House Republicans have offered legislation to begin fixing what is broken and to restore integrity to our nation's healthcare system. And it's so long overdue. The lower healthcare premiums for all Americans that will be on the floor tomorrow is the first big step in that regard. As has been noted by Dr. Miller Meeks and the other leaders here, it offers common sense solutions to lower premium costs for everybody, all Americans. It expands access to quality care, provides every American with more options and flexibility to choose coverage that works for them, and it brings greater transparency to America's healthcare system. And here's how. The bill has 5 key reforms. I'll just reiterate some of this real quickly. It reduces premium costs through cost-sharing reduction payments.
I have a one clause fix to all this fraud. It is the most simple fix the government could ever do, but they would never do it. So if you can, you're going to need to take it upon yourself because it's one fix. Can you guess what that one fix, if anyone had the cojones other than President Trump and Howard Lutnick to even mention it, there's one fix and it completely ends all of this BS. And that one fix is on April 15th, it's a holiday. You know, we talk about democracy, we talk about republic, we talk about people voting. Well, there's one thing I think would be an overwhelming referendum. You're not getting any more tax dollars. We can't keep putting bad money or good money after bad stuff. We can't keep rewarding a government that completely is ineffective and fraudulent. But not Democrat, which will never say it, but we don't even hear the Republicans say it, but we hear President Trump say it. Why don't we just stop collecting income tax so you guys get your shit together? How about we just say, you know what? We're done. We gave at the office. We're completely done. We're not doing this anymore. I can't continue to pay a contractor that's not getting the job done. I can't continue to pay an employee who doesn't show up for work. I can't continue to pay a restaurant that's serving me stale, stank food. But every single year, you require the American public that's working to give you money that you show us by your press conferences you can't manage. Imagine making deposits at a bank every single week, and you get your statement on your app, and your money's not there. And then you go to the bank and say, hey, where's my money? We ain't got it. We made a clerical error. You would have that banker's head. You wouldn't deposit any more money into that bank. You would find another way of saving or investing. But here we are, listening to the people we give our money to tell us it ain't working. Okay, well then we don't need to pay for it. I mean, we have lemon laws against bad used cars. There's all kinds of guarantees you have in case something doesn't do what you pay it for. And we have our actual government. I would love to see somebody do a lawsuit. They are telling us on television, it ain't working. It's been stolen. The entire program is messed up. We don't know where $2 trillion went. Give us more. And that law of 1913, I believe it is when it started, where they mandated money be taken out of your paycheck, where you no longer have the option to pay a bill. There's nobody else who can do that other than the IRS. You know, you can't say Amazon can't just dig into your account unless you go ahead and do a subscription. But even then, you can cancel the subscription. You go to work, you work 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and you have no option to uncheck and say, no, don't take any more of my money. I've given enough. I'm done. Yet the people you give your money to go on television, have press conferences, and admit to your face, we effed up. Sorry, but I got a 5-point plan to fix it. Well, I got a 1-point plan. And if there was ever a movement beyond MAGA, that one movement should be, we're not doing it anymore. We're not paying money into a system that we know is broke, because that would make us complicit. Just think about that. You cannot wage a defense in court if you continue to contribute to something that you know is bad. Didn't you know it was bad, sir? Yeah. Then why'd you keep paying it? Well, you know, did he tell you it was bad? Yeah, he told me it was bad. And you kept paying him willingly. Yeah. There's no fault here. He told you to your face, yeah, I'm stealing your money. And you're like, okay, here's some more. Okay, that was great. That didn't work. I need some more. And you just keep giving it to him. You can't even sue for that. That is an implied consent. You're implying that I'm okay with you stealing my money. And I'm sorry if I'm coming down hard on our own teammates here, but just like if I was in a huddle watching the Miami Dolphins last night, I would have to say, you suck. You can't play anymore. I don't want you on this team if you're not going to block this guy, outrun this guy, tackle this guy. And our team is like, we suck, but we got a 5-point plan.
Pharmacy benefit manager transparency that removes the hidden costs of prescription drugs. It allows small business owners and independent workers to form association health plans. It provides more choice for employees to customize their health care plans, and it protects small businesses from costly regulatory overreach. According to the latest CBO projection, Republicans' cost-sharing reduction payments, just that provision alone, would reduce premiums by at least 11% and will save taxpayers tens of billions of dollars, about $30 billion. Contrast this with the Democrats' proposal. Now, what is their proposal? The Democrats' subsidy proposal would only lower premiums for a small subset of people. Now, think of this. Just 7% of Americans would benefit. When they passed the COVID-era enhanced subsidy, enhanced payment tax credit, it would only affect, and only did affect, 7% of American people. If it was extended today, if their gambit was done and without any reforms, and they expanded it for 3 years, which is what they tried to do in the Senate, and they failed last week, and what they would try to do in the House, if allowed, that would only reduce, for the 7% of Americans, it would only reduce their cost by 5.7%. Okay, this is not some solution to the problem. It's just adding more money, further subsidizing a broken system, and the subsidies go to insurance companies. They're not trying to solve the cost problem. They're trying to hide that. And
so an easy fix. If I go right now and decide I want to buy a car, and I get a finance, I get a loan to pay that car, I get a warranty on the tires and everything else, I pay for it. I don't send it to some intermediary in Washington and say, here's my money for my insurance. Can you pay it for me? No. Why are we doing this? Why isn't it just simple as that? You're coming up with all these plans and all these solutions where there's a very simple one. Get out the way. That was the entire reason for MAGA. As President Trump would say over and over, I'm going to put it back into the hands of the people. And it seems to me like these guys are clawing and they're doing everything not to do what President Trump wants to see happen. I don't need to hear your plans. There's one plan. It's highly unlikely we'd be able to stop paying income taxes because they love that money. They absolutely love that money. But at some point, the only way it's going to change is if the working people of America in addition to the deportations and how we feel about these newcomers in the country, why is nobody talking about we're done? And the reason is because that law that doesn't even give you the option to stop them from taking the money out of your account. Well, there is one trick, and I don't want to advise it because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but there is one trick. If you're still working, there is something that you can check a box on a form which would allow you to keep more of your money in your own pocket and then just pay the bill and when April 15th comes. That's one side. The other side is, well, what if April 15th we just decided wasn't going to happen? Why don't you guys get together and work on that? Forget this. I don't need your 5-point plan. Why don't you got 4 months. Why don't you guys get together and go, you know what? We're going to do a tax holiday. And for the foreseeable future, we're just not going to collect any income tax. We got enough coming in with the tariffs that we can probably pay the military. President Trump keeps telling you, how much? 18 trillion. Well, 18 trillion, that's a hell of a lot of money. I think we could buy some tanks and airplanes. So where's the rest going? I don't even want the rebate. I don't want the $1,000 or $2,000 rebate. A rebate is giving you back your own money. You owe me more than that. See, that's another slave mentality thing that people don't understand. When you get a tax refund, it's not a frickin' refund. It's a repayment of your own money. If I said to any one of you, hey, you got like $2,500 you can lend me? Lend me? You're like, well, yeah, what am I getting out of it? Well, I'll give you back $3,000 in a year. So you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I make 20%. It might be worth it. I'll take the risk on Barry. I'll give him $2,500 and he's going to pay me back $3,000. What's the government give you? Do the math. It's very simple. What does the government give you? They give you a butt kiss. They've taken your money for an entire year, done whatever they want with it, given it to Nigerians, Somalians, and God knows who else, and then make you apply a document that you better do it correctly and on time, and don't mess it up, and then we'll send you a check. Or you can go to like H&R Block and they'll take a chunk from you. How about it work the opposite? What if taxation was just the complete opposite? What if on April 15th, they sent you an invoice, and on that invoice you went, well, I don't want to pay for that for the Somalians. Nope, don't want to pay that for them. No, definitely don't want to pay for the shrimp on the treadmill. Yeah, I'll pay for the Department of War. And nope, not going to pay SNAP benefits. And I'll divide that by, I don't know, 300 million, and here's my share that I'm willing to pay. Here's, make it a good faith and the honor system. How fast things would change. I bet you many of them would leave Congress because I don't want to pay you $175,000 a year. I don't want to pay Elon Omar $170,000 a year. I don't want to pay somebody like AOC who's worth 20 or 30 million. I don't think they should be getting any more salary. But we're never going to see that because nobody's willing to talk about it. We're also cowered by the IRS and thinking the IRS might come after us. Well, this is the only time that's going to happen. We have a president in office right now who controls the IRS. He's the one, if people rose up and said, we're done, we're not doing this anymore, he's the one who's already leaning that way. Remember that. You have a president, you have a commerce secretary, you have a treasury secretary, all who are kind of like, maybe we don't need, maybe we can get away without having to charge people income taxes because we got tariffs, we're so rich. So if the higher ups are already leaning that way, what the hell is Mike Johnson doing? Maybe that's what everybody needs to be saying. We're done. April 15th is the new holiday. Get the day off, take it off, do what you need to, and keep your money. And those of you who have already paid for the last 12 months, maybe instead of a rebate, you give me a refund with interest. Then you'd see these people really shape up.
It's not the way to fix it. It would also, by the way, cost taxpayers, if the subsidy was extended, would cost American taxpayers $350 billion over the next 10 years. Again, the proposal doesn't lower health care costs in any way. It only hides the true cost of a failed law. I'll remind you, CSR payments are not a new idea. In fact, in 2017, the thing that we're going to put on the floor tomorrow, a big part of that, 196 House Democrats, many of them still in Congress, wrote a letter in support of that very idea. Exactly what the Republican bill this week will accomplish. Now, they won't tell you that this week. I'm certain they're all going to vote against it. Why? As was said here many times this morning, they do not want a solution. Democrats do not want a solution. They want an issue in the upcoming election. And they think that the media will go along with this and that people will buy it. That, their heroic effort to extend this COVID-era subsidy that they themselves created and that they themselves put the expiration date on at the end of this year, they're going to try to convince you that that's all health care wrapped into that. Remember, it only affects 7% of Americans, and it would only reduce their cost by less than 6%. Democrats also had a chance to support our provision in the working families tax cut. The House Democrats voted against it, and the Senate Democrats stripped it out. That cost-sharing reduction reduced everybody's premiums by almost 12%. The Democrats fought to take it out. This is something that we're going to do this week. The Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act. It's going to accomplish exactly what the title says. If it becomes law, premiums will decrease, access will increase, and every American will have more options and flexibility to choose the coverage that works best for them. It's called the free market, and we're the ones that advance those ideas. More options, lower costs. That's what the American people demand and deserve, and it is only the Republican Party that is presenting any ideas to do that. The Democrats want to keep subsidizing the program system. We're fighting for that, and we will. I'll just close with this. In 2025, as I said, was a marquee, a landmark. I want to remind you all there's something noticeably absent from our end-of-year duties here. Normally, or at least in the past before I became Speaker, we would all be here with so much angst and drama and everything about the dreaded end-of-year Christmas omnibus spending package. You have not been able to write about that for now the third year because we broke the fever. We both broke the Christmas omnibus fever, and we're getting back to stewardship and regular order, and we're very proud of that. The third consecutive year, we've avoided that terrible congressional Christmas tradition, and we're getting everything working here again. Fixing the appropriations process has been a goal for me and this leadership team. It's been a goal for Chairman Cole at Appropriations and his leadership team, and we're well on the way to rebuilding that muscle memory. House Republicans have shown up every day and delivered real results for the American people, and we're going to continue to do so. We are excited about the years ahead. We look back now on what we've done all this year. We obviously passed the working families tax cut, the big beautiful bill, the most significant piece of legislation that Congress has considered in my lifetime. Stephen Miller's had a quote that summarized it pretty well. He said, quote, each and every one of the individual titles in that bill will be considered one of the greatest achievements in the history of the conservative movement. They are conservative policies, but they benefit every American. And everyone will be seeing and feeling the effects of that in the first and second quarter of next year when all that becomes implemented. Here's, by way of reminder, real quick, the legislation included the largest tax cut in American history, permanent extension of the reduced estate tax, Medicaid program reforms, expansion of SNAP work requirements, increased border enforcement and funding, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, increased standard deduction for seniors, tax-free savings accounts for every child born in America, business tax provisions to incentivize investment and innovation and broaden the pathway out of poverty to more people, wages.
No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, payroll, deduction on interest paid on car loans, all these different programs that President Trump has put in place that they are behind. And so how much of a stretch would it be to say either we're going to eliminate income tax or we're going to drop income tax to a very flat fee amount? You know, maybe every person who makes under $200,000 pays $2,000. Every person above that, every business, the business stays on, the 18 or 20 or whatever it is percent. Let business thrive. Let business take care of the bills. I have no problem as a business paying taxes. I have a problem as an individual paying taxes. The business can afford, because they're bringing in revenue and there's all kinds of different things that you can do as a business. You know, let me just tell you, this studio that I'm building out right here, when I still got to fix the mic and all this kind of stuff, but I'm gonna have to take a picture and let you guys see what's in front of me, because it rivals like a broadcast studio. And I was able to take the investment to put all of this together because of the tax breaks that they give you at the end of the year. Every business that you know right about now is getting new fleets of cars. They're doing all kinds of different tools. They're doing things because if you buy during, a certain time, especially here in Florida, you get sales tax abatement, you get all kinds of government tax deductions because if you invest back into the business. And I understood it probably this year more than I've ever understood it, because I knew it was the end of the year. I knew I could spend more because I can get new monitors, new televisions, new lights, a bigger space, get all this done, and then write it off. I also know, and as I told you guys, Robin and I bought an investment property. And that investment property, we've done all kinds of renovations, and you get to write off all kinds of stuff like that. But in all of that, we also employed people. I had to have basically a computer engineer come in, and I go, wire this to make sure this happens, now that happens, and when I do this, I want that, and now I got to bring him back because I need him want to fix the audio the way I want that fixed. And the people who built the computers, the people who built the monitors, the people who built the lights, all this stuff. People were able to enjoy more money for their personal pocketbook because we have the opportunity to invest at the end of the year. And so the people who are working on the house that are getting it ready for us to put it on the market come early January, I'm able to do that. You got the guys in there doing the drywall and the paint and all this other stuff because of the opportunities that the taxes allow you to do at the end of the year. But meanwhile, the individual person gets screwed, gets absolutely screwed, and then we hear people complaining about the 5-point procedure or whatever.
Will be increasing and costs will be going down. Many of these landmark provisions are set for implementation in the first, second quarter, as I said, and all boats will begin to rise. Just last week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicted $100 to $150 billion in new tax refunds between $1,000 and $2,000 per household. And most of the estimates say that the average American household will have their take-home pay increase by at least $10,000. These are real, tangible benefits that this bill is going to offer to tens of millions of American families, and we're excited about what's ahead. It's just one more example of the many positive and transformational outcomes that we want to see going into next year. So far, House Republicans have passed 413 bills this year. We've codified 68 of President Trump's America First executive orders. We've repealed 23 Biden-era maddening regulations under the Congressional Review Act resolutions. We clawed back billions in wasteful spending through rescissions and opened numerous investigations into President Biden's failed administration. And we look forward to continuing all of that work when we return in 2026 and we go into an epic midterm election cycle. With that, I'll take a few questions. Mr. Speaker, I'll go to Bill Lincoln. You go on the right now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The reason, can I stop the mic? The reason I wanted to continue with this is right now. Now you're going to get the questions from the reporters.
Ahead of Jack Smith's deposition tomorrow, there's a new report out this morning that DOJ is getting ready to hand over Congress a batch of emails, specifically to the House Judiciary Committee. And in those emails, they allege, it says that the FBI warned the Biden DOJ that there wasn't probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago. Are you aware of this? Are you expecting to get these emails later today? What's your response?
I've heard as much as you just reported there, and I have not had an opportunity to review any of that yet. But it would verify and I think affirm much of what we understood from the very beginning. As you all know, I used to serve on the House Judiciary Committee, where I was made Speaker in October of 23. And we spent a lot of time uncovering just the complete and total weaponization of the Department of Justice under the Biden administration. They used it to go after political enemies, and chief among them was, of course, Donald J. Trump. And they abused the system, and to me, the great harm of it all was that they really eroded the people's faith in our system of justice itself. I mean, that's the most dangerous thing. If people don't believe that our justice system is actually equal justice under law, that Lady Justice is actually still wearing the blindfold, that everybody gets the same treatment under the law, it's a really serious challenge for a constitutional republic. And so this is some shocking revelations to a lot of people. It's not to us. We knew, we understood that this was happening the whole time. The evidence, I think, and I expect, will verify all of that. And there's going to have to be appropriate accountability. I mean, accountability is key. It's important. Because if you're going to restore the people's faith in the justice system, you have to show them that there are serious consequences for people like Jack Smith, who abuses that system. We have to ensure it doesn't happen again. And we'll see how all that unfolds. It's going to be a very, very interesting, important event.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. This morning, Congressman Mike Lawler said that it was political malpractice to not allow a vote on the ACA subsidy extension this week. What's your reaction to that? And will Republicans suffer any political blowback for not allowing something like that to come to the floor with moderates?
Well, Mike Lawler is a very dear friend and a close colleague of mine. Ironically, with him for last, I was in New York, in his district on Long Island, and we were campaigning together, ensuring that he gets reelected. Mike Lawler fights hard for New York, as every Republican in this conference does for their districts. The districts are different. They have different priorities and ideas, but we do have, there's about a dozen members in the conference that are in these swing districts who are fighting hard to make sure that they reduce costs for all of their constituents. And many of them didn't want to vote on this Obamacare, COVID-era subsidy the Democrats created. We looked for a way to try to allow for that pressure release valve, and it just was not to be. We worked on it all the way through the weekend, in fact, and in the end, there was not an agreement wasn't made. Now, everybody was at the table in good faith, and I certainly appreciate the views and the opinions of every member of this conference. But I will tell you one thing: they will all join in unity on is voting for this bill that we've been discussing this morning. Because again, instead of just trying to assist 7% of Americans, this is for 100% of Americans, and we can handle that and do that together. I hope that Democrats will come along with us. If they're serious about solving the problem and bringing down cost of Medicare, they'll all fully support it as well.
I don't care if the Democrats are going to come along with you. There's another solution you have available to you. If you walk down the hall and knock on John Thune's door and say, we need to bust this filibuster, bust it up, and then get it done. Why are you worrying what the Democrats think? I can tell you right now, if you don't get it done, they're not going to worry about the Republicans. They are going to turn around very quickly. They're going to break the filibuster, and they're going to turn this into some third world country willingly, laughing at us. Turning off people on YouTube, taking people's money out of bank accounts, all because you guys want to play nice. It is no longer the time to be playing nice with these people. I'm only hoping, my only hope at this point is that somewhere behind the scenes, there's conversations taking place that there's a date that they want to do this. I don't know what that date could possibly be. Maybe they want to wait until after the first of the year. Maybe they want to wait until, I don't know. But if they don't do it, if President Trump doesn't just pull the ripcord, and maybe he's getting everything in order. That's another thing. We saw yesterday that a lot of these people missed it in terms of being able to declare fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. And I think he's getting his ducks in order. It's almost as if he's telling Congress and the Senate, tick-tock, tickety-tock. You're putting me in a position where I'm going to have to act. You see me putting my chess moves. You see me putting the pieces in order. I'm letting you guys play around, but I'm getting ready. I'm not sitting around hoping you're going to do it, because you're not showing that you're willing to do it unless they've said so in behind closed doors. But in the interim, we're going to get everything ready so that you guys can play your little dance and have your little games going on and do your little press conferences. But in any event, we're headed to that place where I think none of these people want to go.
But I think you're going to see they're playing politics with this.
Speaker Johnson. Last week, President Trump said that his legislative agenda is essentially done. So why should voters vote for Republicans in the midterms if there's nothing left to do legislatively?
Well, I don't know which comment you're referring to and in what context, but I'll tell you, I've talked to the president sometimes multiple times each day. He and I and his team and our teams work around the clock. Literally, the president and I will talk sometimes at midnight and then again at 6 a.m. I mean, this president doesn't sleep. He's working all the time. The agenda is aggressive. There is much more to do. I think what he's sometimes when he's taken out of context on comments like that, he's referring to what we accomplished with the working families tax cut, the big beautiful bill, because there's so much in that a lot of people said, wow, you guys checked all the boxes. Well, we did to a certain extent, but there is so much more to do. And we're going to have a very aggressive legislative agenda coming right out of the gates in January. We're going to continue to work, for example, on health care, to continue to bring costs down to the American people, to bring down the cost of living overall. You're going to see an aggressive affordability agenda, and we're going to see continued codification of the president's executive orders. He's up to about 200 of those. Probably about 150 of them are codifiable by Congress, and we're working steadily through that list. You're going to see us delivering for the American people while the effects of that giant piece of legislation we did on July 4th, got signed on July 4th.
That's what they might be waiting for. That right there, he could have reduced that entire press conference down to that last 30, 40 seconds. We're going to be very aggressive after the first of the year. We're going to do this. We're going to codify the executive orders. We're going to do this. And then he said, because at that point, all of the stuff in the big, beautiful bill kicks in. And that should have been the entirety of your press conference, because at that point, we'd have went, okay, we'll watch. We'll see what happens, because now he just said it. You guys all heard him just say it. Right after the first of the year, we're going to do bingity, 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 bingity. And why we're doing it after the first of the year? Because at that point, sentiment will change. They know they're not going to get Democrat votes. They're hoping at this point that the sentiment will change. All this crap about affordability that the media has whipped up and influencers have whipped up, they're hoping after the first of the year when people look down and go, wait a second, there's more money in my paycheck. Wow, so Trump was telling the truth. We are having more money in our paycheck. Wow, I didn't have to pay tax on tips. Oh, my state's charging me now. The Democrats are going to look stupid. Imagine working in a state where there's federally no tax on tips. But then, you look at a state like California and they're like, we're going to override that and put our own tax on your tips. How are people going to look at that? There's no tax on overtime. Well, except the fact that you live here. Now we're going to tax you on your overtime. It's going to be, the contrast is going to be so amazing. I just saw the government gave me back 100 and you took it back. How are you going to explain that? How are the Democrats going to explain that to people when they can see it and a line item on their check? Plus 100 and minus 100. Well, where'd my money just go? Well, the state of California just took it away from you. After the government, President Trump gave it back to you. Wait till that talking point comes out. Today, your no taxes on tips and Social Security and everything just became, realized. You're going to see it in next week's paycheck. Wow, fantastic. And you go to get that paycheck and you don't see it. And you look a little bit closer. Wait a minute. The government gave it to me and my state took it away. That's where I think that might be where it falls apart from a sentiment perspective, because people will see that. They can't hide it. As I told you before about gas prices are coming down and people are like, not where I live. And I went, go look up what your state, county, municipality tax on top. And you're seeing as the price is coming down, they're not wanting it to come down, so they keep putting these variable taxes on top. They don't want you to notice. It's not like there's a big sign, hey, we just raised taxes for 18 cents a gallon because the price dropped 18 cents a gallon, and we don't want you to feel that kind of prosperity. you don't deserve it or something.
Into implementation. So much more yet to do. The President and I talk about that almost every day, and he's excited about it, and I am.
Mr. Speaker, so there's a lot of Republicans who would still like to see health savings accounts set up as an alternative to the premium tax credit. I'm curious, why is that not in this bill? Is that something that's still on the table?
Very much on the table. The President likes the policy as well. I see my doctor colleague, Dr. Weeks, is nodding in agreement. The Docs Caucus the Doctor's Caucus in the Republican Conference works on these things, and I think we can get broad consensus on that. What we anticipate going into the first quarter next year is possibly in a reconciliation package or in regular order as standalone. Ideas just like this. We have a long list of things that we know will reduce premiums, increase access and quality of care. And again, we're the only party that's going to be bringing that forward. The Democrats have zero ideas, zero concepts, and zero legislative plans on anything they'll propose other than just subsidizing the broken system. So there's going to be a stark contrast between the two parties. That'll be a big part of it, and I think we'll see a lot of that discussion going forward. Yes, ma'am.
Just to follow up on that, we are at the end of the year here. People have already enrolled in their health care plans. You guys were out for 2 months during the shutdown. Why has it taken until the end of the year to start addressing, putting to the floor these health care bills? And what is your message to those who are going to see their premiums rise next year anyway, because it seems unlikely that Congress is not going to be able to get something together by then?
The health care bill on the floor tomorrow is right on time. There's always a good time to reduce premiums for health care. And remember, the Republican Party, since the Unaffordable Care Act became law 15 years ago, we have been working steadily, producing ideas, trying to address this. We tried to repeal and replace it, as you all know, in our ultimately failed attempt back in the first Trump administration in 2017. The famous John McCain was down, tanked the effort. And since then, the roots of Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act, have gotten so deep in the system that it's no longer possible to just pull it out at the root and chop it off and start over. It's too deeply ingrained. And so now we have to take it step by step to reduce cost and repair the system. And that's the ideas that we have. You're talking about the longest shutdown in U.S. history. The Democrats did that. Remember, when we reopened the government, we ended in the exact same place that we began. They didn't get a darn thing out of it, and we knew that they wouldn't, and that's how it would come out, and they did it for political purposes. When they took us off the field effectively for 43 days, as soon as we got back, let's remember, because history's being revised here every day, we got right back to the appropriations process, remember, which is so critically important, and all the other measures that we were pushing through. We got done on that steadily through the year, and then we turned the attention to healthcare, knowing it was coming at the end of the year on the subsidy and that the new ideas would be presented. We didn't start this in October, November, or December. This is something the Republican Party's been working on for years. I've mentioned in here before, when I was chair of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus of Republicans in Congress, we had 158 members back in 2019. We produced a 2-volume set on conservative common sense solutions to fix healthcare. We've never been able to get the votes to fix it because the Democrats have been unwilling to go along. And you can go back and look at the record and show over and over, all they want to do is continue to throw taxpayer dollars and subsidize the broken system. The reason the premiums are up 80% since the bill was passed by the Democrats 15 years ago is because they're further ingraining a broken system. So it's up to us to fix it. This is one piece, one part of that. And in the first quarter, January, February next year, you're going to see much more activity of this. The American people's attention is on health care for the obvious reason. It is a very serious problem. But remember this, the Democrats broke it, Republicans are going to fix it.
Yeah, I don't care. The only thing I cared about was what he said at the end. We're going to see something after the first of the year, right when they get back. We know they're going to see something because otherwise it's going to shut down again. So the pressure is on to deliver. All right, so you heard from Mike Johnson. You heard from, Vice President J.D. Vance. I'm going to talk to you about Kimchi and chapter, and then we'll get into some news. And then Caroline Levitt is up in about half an hour, so we'll talk about that. But right now, excuse me, did you know that U.S. life expectancy peaked at 78 years old in 2014, and global life expectancy is declining for the first time in 30 years because people are aging faster than ever before? This is due to more toxins in the air, chemicals in our soil, and also the toxins in your food and other external factors that are new to us. What most people don't know is that we can actually fight aging on a cellular level. And by fighting aging on a cellular level, you can use a product like Kimchi to actually help do that. Scientists have discovered that kimchi actually slows the aging process of human cells, helping protect them and delay aging at the cellular level. The power of nature can outweigh the power of pharmaceuticals. I hate taking drugs without the nasty side effects. And now you can get all the benefits of kimchi in a simple capsule with Kimchi 1. Each capsule delivers over 900 probiotic strains plus antioxidants and enzymes that support your digestion, your metabolism, and your skin health from the inside out. As we age, we become more susceptible to microbial threats. Kimchi 1 is a natural antimicrobial. It's helping your body fight off harmful bacteria, viruses, and even toxins while boosting your immunity and your energy. I can actually attest to that because as many of you know, I just got sick last week and I came out of it very fast. I usually get my cold at the beginning of the year, but I was able to go through it in like 3 or 4 days. And I have to say, the only real thing different that I changed was obviously my eating, exercise, and kimchi. So best of all, Kimchi 1 is 100% made in the USA, all natural, non-GMO. Support your gut, protect your cells, and feel younger every day with Kimchi 1 from Brightcore. And you can get a special deal just for being here in the Fanfare family by going to mybrightcore.com/Barry. Today you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link in the description or on your screen and use the code Barry for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738. All right, so SV has been waiting and he's dinging me with all kinds of different alerts. So let me see what you got here before I get into some things. SV says, breaking, Trump will address the nation at 9 p.m. tomorrow. Let me see if that's 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. 9 p.m., that seems like it's awful late. If he's doing something that late, that probably means something big is going to be said, because I doubt he would talk about something. Hold on, let me get to it. One quick thing here. Is it this one? Where is my Truth Social button here? 1 second, Truth. Is it really 9 p.m.? That's really late. Let's see what it is here. Yep, it's 9 p.m. Okay, so let me bring this to you guys so you can see it. My fellow Americans, I'm done. I'm done right there. I'm done. I'm done. Those of you who know, those of you who have, been around for a while and have paid attention to certain things, that right there, I don't even need to read the rest. I'm going to have a big, giant box of popcorn while we all sit there and watch this. He started the post with my fellow Americans. SV didn't know when he told me to look at this, but I'm like, I got little goosebumpies. Those of you who know, you know. If you know, you know. My fellow Americans. Wait till I tell Robin. My fellow Americans, I will be giving an address to the nation tomorrow night live from the White House at 9 p.m. I look forward to seeing you then. It has been a great year for our country, and the best is yet to come. OMG. OMG, there are people who are going to be like, what the heck did I just see? Oh, man. I'm going to take a second. I'll be right back.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so Ashley just hit me up as well. So tomorrow night we've got the 9 p.m. My Fellow American speech. Oh, it's actually, hold on.
Taking to True Social to write this. My fellow Americans, I will be giving an address to the nation tomorrow night, live from the White House, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I look forward to seeing you then. It has been a great year for our country, and the best is yet to come. Caroline Leavitt, his White House press secretary, will be joining us live right here on America Reports, top of the hour, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Perhaps she'll give us a preview of...
Yeah, we need to hear that, Caroline. We got the My Fellow Americans notification. Oh boy. In addition, while you guys, while I was on break there, Ashley went ahead and she also contacted me and said they also have just announced a rally in North Carolina at 6 p.m. on Friday. So things are beginning to happen. Robin's texting me. What? I'll tell you in a minute, babe. Oh my goodness. Wow. This is some good stuff. I'm going to get some news for you. Hey, everybody, if you guys have not noticed, we're getting very close to the end of the year. That's basically the period of time as they begin to shut down the enrollment for Medicare. If you're 65 like me or getting close to 65, that means you're getting buried under the same spam calls and junk mail that I am. What a nightmare that can be, constantly having to click the button and hit block. I've also learned that Medicare plans change every single year. Apparently, some even disappear. So for those of us that love our plans today, it might not be the best plan for you in 2026. And if you don't double check, you could lose your coverage for doctors and prescriptions that you count on. Don't let that happen. And to make matters worse, most Medicare agents are just in it to get the best commission for themselves. They'll push you into that kind of a plan. So be very careful. But you don't have to be that careful. You can just call my friends at Chapter. I know it's been hard to get a hold of somebody because they're extremely busy. Business is booming. I recommend Chapter for the Fanfare family. They check every single plan in America to make sure you get the best deal. And on average, they can save you up to $1,100 a year, or they can put you in a Cadillac plan. It's up to you. They made it dead simple for Robin and I. They reviewed all the options. They'll do it for you in one free 20-minute phone call. It won't cost you anything. So if you're already on the right plan, you're done. If not, they'll help you switch. So get some peace of mind during the enrollment period. Call Chapter at 475-328-3545 and make sure you're set going into 2026. So yeah, I think some of you guys know, well, what's Barry looking up at? That's where my new billboard screen is. And I'm waiting for Caroline Leavitt to come up, and I definitely don't want to miss her. But they're saying 2 o'clock, so I've got kind of like 30 minutes we can cover. All right, that being said, I just want to reiterate, President Trump has given the notice of my fellow Americans, and so he is absolutely going to be doing something pretty big, very big. All right, so let me talk to you about, did I bring this, where's the screen? No, not that screen. Did I shut my screen? 1 second, I'm trying to figure out where I was. Is it here? Is it there? Just ignore me. I'm trying to figure out where I was with all the tweets and stuff I wanted to bring up. All right, found it. Sometimes it gets confusing. Is it right? So yesterday, as I get ready to talk to you guys about this, you know what happened, unfortunately, to Rob Reiner and his wife. And they're saying that it's, it may be the son that did it. And they brought him in, they got him on $4 million bond. He's a potential drug addict and all kinds of psychological problems and everything else. And then President Trump said something yesterday in his Truth Social post that got a lot of people pissed off, supposedly. And what I'm going to tell you right now is you watched another psyop take place. If you go on Twitter or X, whatever, and you start searching voted 3 times, you're going to see literally thousands of posts echoing the same thing. I voted for Trump 3 times, but this is too far. I voted for Trump 3 times, but this time I can't let it go. All kinds of people saying, it's just a bridge too far. Him saying something about a guy who just got killed is just too much for me. And I always tell you guys, wait 24, 48 hours. When you see something pop up, just wait. Just wait. Because you never know what is coming or what he's saying. He posted something that sounded on the surface, very, very nasty to a man and his wife. He didn't really say anything negative about the wife, but they just got killed. Their bodies aren't even in the ground yet, and people are screaming. And many people on the right almost seems like they were looking for the reason to jump ship. They were looking. They couldn't wait till he said, that's it, I'm done. Really? What's your alternative? As far as I know, he's president to 2028. You're not telling anybody anything by saying you're not voting for Trump in 2028 because he's not going to be the candidate in 2028. That we know of. So what the hell is your post mean? I'm done with Trump. What? What does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. It means you're a faggot. And like Alpha Warrior said, I was like, what does faggot mean? Fake MAGA, faggot. I'm like, oh, didn't know that. Didn't know what a faggot was. And so I saw all kinds of people. I saw Fox last night have a panel, an entire panel of people like, oh, he shouldn't have said that. That was bad. Well, what if President Trump knew something that you didn't, and they didn't, and all these people didn't know? Now, I don't know. But I did hear something, and I heard it from a police buddy of mine, and he's like, can I give you a nudge? I'm like, dude, of course. You know something, nudge me. And he said, check out the Al Franken roast. What do you mean? And I went searching for this thing everywhere I could, and finally I found it. And I posted it last night, and I can't post it here because YouTube would have a conniption. And in that video, which you can go on my profile right now on X and look at it, there's a roast. And as we know, roasts can get kind of, grimy. People can really dig at you and say some things. But what was said wasn't funny. What was said by Al Franken as he was roasting Rob Reiner sitting right next to him was kind of scary. You see, he made fun and made a joke about child penetration. You can go, the video is still on my profile. X doesn't take it down. He made a joke not just about daddy doing child penetration. His joke was that daddy would then invite other alternative lifestyle comedians to come on over and have their way with young Rob as well. They were talking about Carl Reiner, the dad, doing this to Rob Reiner, and if you know anything about that kind of activity, you know sometimes it goes down the line. I have no idea. I'm not even implying it. I'm just telling you what was said. Watch the video, and you can see that Rob Reiner kind of gets uncomfortable. It's funny, and it's graphic. I couldn't believe that was actually shown on television back in the day. I think it was in 2000 or something. And he actually says, hey, you remember when your dad used to sneak in the room and turn you over and pop, 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 and then he would invite his friends over to pop, 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 pop? He actually said that. And then people in the audience, I went, oh my God, they're laughing? This is funny to them? You're actually laughing at somebody making light of child penetration? Is that where we are? Well, is that where we were? And as I posted it, many of you who saw it were like, this is disgusting. This is vile. And there were a few people that were like, oh, you know, it's just comedy. I've never had a comedian, I've never laughed at somebody even intimating that stuff. I think the only time I actually laughed was when Sam Kinison was talking about Necra Speedos, which was hilarious, but that's different. That's not kids. And why am I saying this? Because my police buddy says, now after you've seen that, go look up the Menendez brothers. And I'm like, dude, you're throwing me some breadcrumbs here. And then as I started looking back on the Menendez brothers, I'm like, oh, I see what he's saying. I see what he's saying. He's intimating that maybe, could he have, and if he maybe did, and if he could have done that, and we know Hollywood is dark, there's somebody who was, you know, involved in Hollywood who may know some of the dark stuff. You know, you guys, not you guys, but people have been saying all this stuff about Trump and, you know, Epstein and everything else. He hung in the crowd and then got, I don't want to deal with this. This is crazy. I'm going to do a Michael J. Fox and get the hell out of here. I do not want to visit the Hotel California. And so he dropped a very mean post. And if you know Trump, you voted for Trump, if you've dug into Trump, you understand Trump says things sometimes to let people know it's not what you think. And so my police buddy, I'm like, okay, you got me. I'm hooked. Tell me more. Where are you going with this? And he's like, you won't hear this on the news. You won't see anybody talk about this on the news. They stay up here. They don't start digging. And so I'm going to give you something so that you can start digging. If Maximus is still here, maybe Maximus can also talk about this. But the type of anger and violence that was exuded from what they've said is not normal violence. In fact, most times, I'm being delicate because of the censors, and most times if you want to unalive somebody, you blow them up, you shoot them, you push them off a bridge, you do something that's very immediate, it's done. There's not an extended period of time where the incident takes place, except when it's personal. Except when you are so pissed off, so angry, such a visceral response that you want to see that person's face as they are leaving their body and as they know it's you escorting them away. This is deep, dark. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So he sent me to this post. I'm going to show you. Do what you got to do, because the psychological stuff that's in this post is going to cause many of you to start looking and digging and maybe go back and watch the video I posted and to say to yourself, oh yeah, this is some dark stuff. So let me show this to you. Because here's the objective reality. Did you notice that multiple wounds are not incidental violence? They are not random. They are not quick. Forensically, stabbing is one of the most personal and emotionally charged forms of homicide. It requires proximity. You have to be close to the person. It has to be sustained, repeated, and with an intent maintained over a period of time. Each wound represents a renewed decision to continue. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa. That is one hell of a statement I would never have thought. Each wound represents a renewed decision to continue. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I'm still not done yet. And your mind, as you're reading this, is starting to, probably get graphically and like, whoa, this is deep stuff here. And it says, when two elderly parents, this is why forensic pathology classifies this as an intimate violent act. When two elderly parents are stabbed to death, the implications are even clearer. This is not a burglary gone wrong. This is not accidental escalation. All right, so you're following this. Let me move over here. This is rage-driven. It indicates personal animus. I am mad as hell at you. Emotional intensity, and often a relationship or ideological fixation. The act requires the killer to remain present while the victims are conscious, defensive, and suffering. And that matters. You see, the person that's doing the act doesn't just leave. They're watching the result of their actions. And they're looking at the person that they're doing the actions to. Just think of that. I'm watching your eyes as life is leaving. And I'm not stopping. I'm not done. I'm continuing. From an educational forensic standpoint, investigators look at wound count, wound location, depth, defensive injuries on the hands and forearms of the victims, pattern consistency, and sequencing. These elements tell a story of how long the attack lasted and whether there were pauses, whether the assailant re-engaged after incapacitation, and whether the violence was symbolic or expressive. They're looking at all this. We haven't seen it. We probably won't hear about it for quite some time. But basically they're saying, did he just keep going because he wanted to inflict the rage that he had inside? Scary. In cases like this, the evidence overwhelmingly points to expressive violence, violence meant to punish, erase, or dominate, not merely to kill. See, killing, from what this guy is saying and what my police buddy was saying, that's just the end result. You're gonna go away. That's given. I'm taking you out. But before I do, I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to punish, erase, and dominate you. Yeah, right now you're like, this is some nasty stuff here, right? Yeah, all right, let's continue. So why leave it out? Why did they not talk about it? Because acknowledging the brutality forces uncomfortable questions like you're having right now. Right now, you're having an uncomfortable question about this. It destroys the attempt to frame the event as abstract tragedy rather than personal evil. It invites scrutiny of motives, ideology, mental state, and relational context. It undermines the preferred posture of moral distance and curated grief. I don't know if this guy is a psychological studier or whatever, but this is phenomenal stuff he's writing here. Public statements often speak of the death instead of murder and loss instead of slaughter for a reason. Democrat language, and we know how these people use language. This is one of the things that caught me because we know what they've done with language. Democrat language shapes perception, undocumented. There's no such thing as illegal. They shape the perception. If the public fully internalizes that two parents were personally and repeatedly stabbed, it reframes everything. Sympathy turns to accountability. Mourning turns to a demand for the truth. Because at that point you go, so why was he so mad? What would make you so mad? What internal rage did you have that built up inside of you to the point where you wanted to take out dad and mom instead of just, blowing them away? You wanted to get up and personal and make sure you watched life leave. The pattern is not new. When violence is ideologically inconvenient or socially destabilizing, institutions often soften the language. They focus on legacy. Oh, he was a great guy. Oh, he did great movies. Values and abstract goodness while stripping the event of its physical reality. The blood is erased. The terror is erased. The victim's final moments are erased. But forensic truth does not disappear because a statement avoids it. Two parents were not lost. They were violently, personally, and intentionally taken out. That fact alone tells you more than any curated media tribute ever will. And the omission tells you just as much about the speaker as the crime tells you about the killer. So as you read that and you say to yourself, that is some deep psychological stuff right there. And then, one of the things I couldn't figure out, and I dug in, and here was the exact question that I asked my buddy. And again, if there's some guys in the police here, please feel free. Where is it here? I got to make sure I don't give his name out. Okay, so the question is, I asked, where is my question? All right. With your experience, tell me this. How the F do you subdue two people while you're doing something this crazy to them? Two people who are fighting for their lives. I remember as a bouncer, I remember how hard it was to toss a smaller guy out of a bar. And I was just taking his drink from him. I wasn't taking his life from him. And I remember how much of a struggle it would sometimes be. And he says, how many 70-something men and 60-something women did you end up throwing out of a bar? None. Nothing about this shows me that he was in any kind of shape or he has any traits of a warrior. And what he's getting to, he goes, I bet he started with the first one with the man. And, my instinct would be if it was either person would be not to call the police, but would be to try and stop. And then, things would happen. And then I asked the question. And this is where it gets. So she just stood there or he just stood there? He goes, most people, as you saw with Charlie Kirk, he says, most people have never witnessed up close and personal true violence. And I went, yeah, most people live their entire lives without seeing something like that. And they never know how they're going to react, like the shooting that they keep playing over and over and over in Australia. And, the cops froze, and it took some guy to go and tackle it. You don't know what you're going to do in that situation. You're not trained. And then I asked him, why didn't they do something? And I love this statement. The body won't or can't go where the mind has never been. Wow, man. Wow. I'm 65. You just schooled me. You can't do it. But on the flip side of that is the same thing. You can't go unless your mind is telling you these beasts, these demons have to be removed from this planet. And one of the things he said to me is that it wasn't like it was a hallucinogenic. There are different kinds of drugs. He might have been high, he might have been drunk, but your mind has to be able to get you to that point. So I'm going to close that right now with what could have gotten him to that point. Dad, give me $500,000. No, I don't think that's it. Dad, I want this. No, I don't think that rejection is going to cause you to jump into a homicidal rage. Did President Trump, and this is just a question, I'm not trying to be like Candace Owens here, I'm just going to say, based upon the type of action that just took place with these people, based upon what we heard uttered on the stage, based upon what you saw President Trump post, is it possible that there's something deeper here? Is there something that none of us have looked to touch because we're like, my mind can't go there. My mind can't go to that place. I've never been around. I've never been involved. I've never experienced what somebody could potentially experience that would want them to do something like this. And the only reason I started digging is because President Trump said something. And if President Trump said something, you have to agree he intended to post what he posted, knowing it would piss people off, but at the same time, he wanted to send a message. And if President Trump wanted to send a message, then he was commanding us to go start digging, which some of us did, which some of us wrote very eloquently. So at this point, I don't have the answer. We may never get the answer, but there's some strange stuff going on. And the visceral way in which these people lost their lives tells you there might be something a little bit, and with President Trump saying something, there might be a little bit more than getting pissed off in regards to how President Trump reacted with his post. He must know something. He must feel something. We'll all find out. I'll take some comments here in a second.
Go to fanfareshop.org/group and join 18,000 fellow patriots. It's a safe space for patriots as it's curated and moderated. Again, that's fanfareshop.org/group. One more thing, if you'd like to be a part of the show, submit a 60-second video by going to fanfareshop.org/submit video. Last, but certainly not least, if you'd like to request a free Bible, please go to fanfareshop.org/Bible. We have a long list, but we're getting them out as soon as we can. Again, that's fanfareshop.org/Bible. Thanks for being a part of the Fanfare family. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So don't at me. Don't get mad at me. I'm reading what some people are posting. I'm reading what the president posted. I'm seeing what my friend here, who is a something like 25-year veteran on the force, and he saw something that made him take a look, and maybe that's all we're supposed to do. Sacrificial killing plan. Hollywood is dark indeed. Yeah. Call them Now Rise, America Speaks Up. There's something is going on. Oh, I love this one. Barry, the Bible says, don't drive your children to wrath. That's huge. Is she getting ready to come on? Caroline Levitt is coming on soon, and we'll cut to that. Your other studio sounds spot on. Don't worry, this one will be fixed. I mean, you guys who aren't used to putting this kind of stuff together, it's an easy fix. So we'll have it. It's a big room. It's a very tall room, so the sound's flying all over. But you fix it by putting a certain filter in the microphone, and then we'll have it working. Let's see here. Is she coming on now? Is this her? No. I wonder if Barry totally with President Trump, and thank you, Barry. I think your friend is spot on. Crazy, isn't it? I love breathe, everyone. Breathe. I wonder if we're seeing something back when he was in Hollywood, around Hollywood types. Yeah, exactly. Somebody said, I saw the roast. It was absolutely disgusting. Very disgusting. Crazy disgusting. All right, so Caroline Levitt is coming up at 2 o'clock, so I don't want to get into the next part of what I was going to say, because obviously I would have to stop as soon as she comes on. I do want to show you, where's SV just sent me some breaking news, somewhat breaking. Yeah, let's look at this. Says, breaking, it's official, a bombshell memo was just dispatched to Congress fighting that the FBI did not find probable cause to raid Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, but prosecutors did it anyway. The consequences are needed. This is an unprecedented miscarriage of justice. Absolutely. So all this stuff is starting to come out, and it's coming out in droves. And it just keeps coming, and you're going to find out who stands with who. That's the other part of all this. Wow. The raid, we knew the raid was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. New York and Illinois put 8,000 newcomers on our streets last week. Exactly. Also, by the way, did you know that Israel had warned Australia about the attack? Christy says, Al Franken was a complete creep. Yeah, yeah, he was for sure. Absolutely. He says, I don't mind the echo. Reminds me of a new house sound. It's not a new house. It was where we used to live, and when we moved out into our new house, I said, you know what? I'm going to make this my new studio and be able to do different things. So what's funny is that you have to, in order to make this stuff work, you have to do it so you can see what needs to be fixed. If you don't do it and think everything's going to work, then you're in trouble. All right, so she is on.
Tonight, ISIS and what happened in Australia and all of that. But first of all, you let us know that there's going to be a big address to the nation tomorrow night at 9. So do tell, what's it all about?
We greatly look forward to President Trump addressing the nation tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern. I hope your audience will tune in, and Americans across the country will tune in to hear from their president as well about the historic accomplishments that he has garnered for our country over the past year. If you look at the security of our border, if you look at stopping Joe Biden's inflation right in its tracks, bringing down gas prices to the lowest level in 5 years, President Trump will be talking about what's to come. The best is truly yet to come, as he often says. And so he'll be addressing the country about all of his historic accomplishments over the past year, and maybe teasing some policy that will be coming in the new year as well as we head into this Christmas season.
Quite the tease. All right, 9 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. Caroline will be watching for that. Welcome back to America Reports. This is President Trump when asked specifically about the ongoing growing threat that is coming from ISIS. Listen.
Do you still have confidence in the Syrian president?
I do. I mean, this had nothing to do with him. This is a part of Syria that they really don't have much control over. And it was a surprise. He feels very badly about it. He's working on it. He's a strong man. And no, this had nothing to do with the Syrian government. This had to do with ISIS.
What will the U.S. response be?
As a response, they'll be hit hard.
They'll be hit hard. He is vowing very serious retaliation as a response. What can you tell us we could be seeing from the president as far as action?
Well, I won't get ahead of the president and our commander-in-chief on any actions that he may take with respect to ISIS in the Middle East in this second term. We know in President Trump's first term, he completely destroyed and demolished the ISIS caliphate. He took out some of their key top members and leaders. And because of President Trump's policies in Syria and beyond, the Middle East is growing to be a safer place every day. If you look at how President Trump has embraced the Syrian president, removed sanctions from that country, and what happened, this absolute tragedy that took place of our soldiers who were killed, that was largely because of the dereliction of duty from the last administration, and it reinforces President Trump's policy in this country now, embracing a leader who he as well is committed to eradicating ISIS. He signed onto a document right here at the White House at the behest of President Trump to join the United States in fighting ISIS in his country. So that mission will continue. And tomorrow, unfortunately and very sadly, President Trump will be heading to Dover Air Force Base to meet with the families of the fallen and to receive their bodies here at home.
Yeah. The dignified transfer of remains, very solemn ceremony. Clearly, though, ISIS remains a threat in many parts of the world, and the ideology that it spreads, as we saw in Australia, is still a danger. I wanted to ask you about the economy. J.D. Vance had the economic speech today. Delayed jobs data came out and showed that 64,000 jobs were created during the month of November. But what that means really kind of depended on which headline you read. I put together a smattering of them. The New York Times, U.S. unemployment rate rose in November, a warning sign for the economy. Reuters, U.S. job growth beats expectations in November. NPR, the U.S. just added just 64,000 jobs in November, a sign the labor market is slowing. Reuters, futures turn positive after jobs data. I mean, you look at all those headlines, you don't know which way to turn here. So how do you read it?
Well, I know our economic director, Kevin Hassett, was out here addressing it this morning, and President Trump is focused on putting Americans back to work. And if you look at the job gains historically throughout this past year, what's most remarkable about the labor market right now is that President Trump is putting American citizens back into the labor force. And we know under the previous administration and Joe Biden that 100% of the jobs gained were for foreign-born workers. These were for people who flooded our country and took the jobs of hardworking Americans. And so President Trump's policies of not just border security, but also incentivizing investment into our country. He's gone overseas to recruit trillions of dollars in new investments, new jobs, economic growth into our manufacturing industry here at home. We're going to continue to see all of that come to fruition, which means more jobs for hardworking Americans and also an increase in their wages. If you look at the wage growth that is taken place over the past year as well. On average, the American worker is earning about $1,200 more over a year thanks to President Trump's policies. Under Joe Biden, they were losing on average $3,000 per year. And so this president is focused on pro-growth policies for American workers, not foreign workers, for putting people back to work, particularly in our manufacturing industry, which has always been the backbone of our nation's economy.
Before we leave the top of the economy, I want to ask you about gas prices. We know this is, historically a big point to cover as we head into the midterm elections. And we have seen gas prices coming down. They are below $3 a gallon now. J.D. Vance talked about this earlier today in Allentown, PA. Listen.
You know why energy prices are lower? You know why gas prices have come down so much? Because we finally got an American president who wants to invest in American energy and American workers instead of green energy boondoggles that are produced overseas.
So when the president and the vice president get together and they talk with their energy and economic teams, how much lower do you believe that this White House and its policies can get those gas prices as we head into the new year? I mean, are we looking at $2 a gallon?
Well, that's what we're already seeing, Sandra, in many states across the country. In fact, in places like Colorado, where there's an abundance of natural gas that President Trump and this administration are finally tapping into, you see that gasoline is below $2 a gallon, which is a remarkable feat in just 10 months. If you look at what Joe Biden did to gas prices, in many states across the country, it was upwards and more than $5 a gallon. So the national average is the lowest it's been in 5 years, and we do expect that number to continue to decline as President Trump Trump's energy policies continue to kick in. And he made up the slogan, drill, baby, drill. And that's what our Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, has been focused on since day one. God blessed our country with amazing resources right under our feet. And as the vice president was saying, President Trump believes in tapping into those resources, not just to drive down energy costs and inflation, but also for our national security. The previous administration's energy policy made no sense. We were begging foreign nations around the world to produce this most critical resource for us, while inflation was jacked up to a record high 9%. Not under President Trump. We're already seeing the effects of his America First energy policy, and Americans will continue to see that in the months and the years to come.
I wanted to ask you, Caroline, about the two-part series of articles in Vanity Fair on Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, and the president's inner circle. I mean, clearly there was a lot of cooperation between the White House and Vanity Fair on this, because there's numerous interviews that Susie Wiles had with the writer over the course of pretty much a year. Portraits were taken of his inner circle, including her, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller. I mean, it looks like the White House was working hand in glove with Vanity Fair, and yet here's Susie Wiles' reaction to the series of articles. Quote, "The article published early this morning is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet in history. Significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. I assume after reading it that this was done to paint an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team." She goes on after that. You can read the full thing on X, but what happened? What went wrong?
Well, look, I would just echo my boss, Susie Wiles, who is the best chief of staff in our nation's history, working for the greatest president in our nation's history, and that this was, unfortunately, another attempt at fake news by a reporter who was acting disingenuously and really did take the chief's words out of context. But I think most importantly, the bias of omission was ever present throughout this story. The reporter omitted all of the positive things that Susie and our team said about the president and the inner workings of the White House. And as Susie said today, it's deeply unfortunate that happened, but it won't distract us from making America great again. And President Trump has been such a productive president and has accomplished more in 11 months than most presidents do in 8 years because of his vision and his tenacity, which is executed on and facilitated by our great White House chief of staff, Susie Wiles, whom I'm very proud of to call a boss and a mentor and a friend.
Yeah, his inner circle, the president's inner circle, family coming to her defense. Don Jr. just posting Susie Wiles, by far the most effective and trustworthy chief of staff that my father has ever had. We appreciate you joining us for this very private White House briefing. Caroline, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Yeah, so just to let you know, I could probably go on for another hour in terms of the content that I have available, but we have a show tonight for sure. I just want to let SV and some of the mods know you're going to have to do some work tonight because President Trump is doing a Hanukkah celebration. So I don't want to hear all the anti-Semite stuff. We're going to do that tonight. We're going to watch as President Trump makes his remarks and celebrates Hanukkah for the Jewish Americans in this country. So that's what we're going to do. It starts at 8:15. So we're going to go live at about 7:30. At 7:30, while we're waiting President Trump to come out, I got a whole bunch of economic news that came out that I didn't have a chance to cover yet. So we're going to cover that tonight. But I do want to cover that Susie Wiles story. So what John Roberts was saying, there was a big article in Vanity Fair. Full disclosure, I've been in Vanity Fair when I was back in the entertainment business, but they just completely tried to trash Susie Wiles, which, as I've told you, when you're seeing that kind of activity, that should very much tell you.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
You see, when you're going after your opponent in that way, that means you're not winning. The fact that you're trying to take people down means you are a loser. you're not in a position to win. So you want to take the big dog down. You want to take the winners down. And so they posted a really nasty article about her. You can read it. I don't feel like showing it. But even John Roberts didn't go through and give Susie Wiles the credit she deserves. So this is what she posted. The article published early this morning is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet in history. Significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. So J.D. Vance was kind of telling you that. Oh, she said he's a conspiracy theorist. Well, imagine if you're sitting around talking to somebody, and so tell me about J.D. Vance. Him and his conspiracy theories. And that's the only thing you write. And what she was probably trying to say was, the people that you think are conspiracies have been found out to be true, and yada, 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 but they don't put that in, and they just leave it out there. Significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team was left out of the story. I assume after reading it that this was done to point an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team. The problem I have with that is, didn't you foresee that? Did you think they were your buddies? Did you think they were let's make Susie look, okay. Let's try and write an article that's going to make the Trump administration look like they got their stuff together. See, that was a mistake, and it was probably somebody she did trust. She probably thought to herself, this is my friend. I can trust her or him. And you're finding out politically, you can't trust any of these rats. The truth is, Trump White House has already accomplished more in 11 months than any other president has accomplished in 8 years, and that is due to the unmatched leadership and vision of President Trump, for whom I have been honored to work for the better part of a decade. None of this will stop our relentless pursuit of making America great again. And as you just heard, Caroline Leavitt also chimed in. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has helped President Trump achieve the most successful first 11 months in office of any president in American history. President Trump has no greater or more loyal advisor than Susie. The entire administration is grateful for her steady leadership and united fully behind her. If you've noticed, it is now December 16th. Go ahead and count off how many leaks you've heard from the White House. You haven't. She runs a very tight ship. The media is not used to this. The media is not used to him having so many events, talking so much, doing so much. Tomorrow night we got my fellow American speech, and we got a rally on on Friday at 6 p.m. And then tonight we got a Hanukkah celebration. They're not used to this. And because they're not used to this, they're not being told what's really going on like the other administrations. So that's what Caroline Leavitt have. And then somebody who doesn't really speak a lot caught my eye. This is from Russ Vogt. Susie Wiles is an exceptional chief of staff. I've had the privilege of working in President Trump's White House for every single minute of his both terms. Let me be very clear. It has never worked this well or been more oriented towards accomplishing what he wants to accomplish. In my portfolio, she is always an ally in helping me deliver for the president, and this hit piece will not slow us down. And as John Roberts mentioned, Donald Trump Jr. absolutely had something to say. So they're all coming out in defense of her, and they're coalescing all of their support right behind her. They're letting everybody know, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't going down like this. And I applaud them for that. And I can't imagine what President Trump, he might say something about it tonight. Let's see here. I still need my electricity to go down, but President Trump promised he will cut it in half. Give him some time. Go ahead and check your bill, by the way, and look at your taxes in your state. Like when you get I'm in Florida. If you get your FPL, Florida Power and Light, you can see where the money goes. That's very important. He says they're screwing with the wrong person, and that's for sure. Somebody said here, I've never been to a rally. Well, if you've never been to a rally, it's in North Carolina on Friday, but the thing with that is you don't have to worry about going there. You can just tune in here. You're going to see a whole bunch of people who've seen rallies, been to rallies. It's nothing, if you've never seen one, it's nothing like you see on television. It is completely different. He's much more relaxed. He's on his game. I've said many times, I think he feeds off the energy from the crowd. Let's see here. Wow, this month is half over already. Yeah, it is, and he's going. So when they said he was going to be on the ballot, I'm pretty sure this is the start of it. I think we're going to see rallies by both of them. You heard from J.D. Vance this morning. You're going to hear from President Trump tonight, and then on and on and on. It's just going to keep coming. So I am going to stop here. I'm going to do super chats, and then we're going to go. We're going to do a show tonight. And then we're going to listen to President Trump do a Hanukkah celebration at, I guess, about 8 o'clock or so. He's going to go on. I'll go live at 7:30, and I'll bring you up to date on all of the financial news that's happened. And hopefully in the interim, I'll be at a different studio tonight. You guys well, where are you going to be tonight? Tonight I'll be home, so it'll be different. But I'll be working here for another hour or so to get this stuff better for you. But I enjoyed it. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'm sorry if I went early and I pulled the plug because J.D. Vance went on stage earlier than I thought. So thank you for tuning in. Let me go ahead and bring up the right window. And it would be this window. So I just got to make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see. And then we can go with it. Okay, there we go. User OT, thank you. Barry, true patriot and man of truth and God. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. Pekovsky, thank you. Farah Benoit. When asked about illegal orders, Slotkin mentioned A Few Good Men directed by Reiner. Coincidence? He was part of the Russian hoax. Telling you, start digging. I mean, one of the things my buddy sent me, hold on, let me tell you about this. One of the things that my buddy sent me, and I didn't even know this. Hold on, let me bring this up so some of you guys can dig here. He says, hey Barry, did you know, and maybe some of you guys may have found this out today, said that Michelle Obama and Barack were supposed to meet with Reiner that night. Don't know what that was all about. But he goes, since you've been following some of the stuff I've been following, have you known how many times Castle Rock has been mentioned? Isn't that the Reiner's production company? I went, no, that's Spielberg or Stephen King. Well, those of you guys who are around and read some stuff in the past, you know that Castle Rock was always talked about. It was talked about quite a bit. And so he looked up on Wikipedia who started the production company Castle Rock. It says Castle Rock is a film and television production company known for hits like When Harry Met Sally, A Few Good Men, The Shawshank Redemption. That's why I thought it was Stephen King. It was founded in 1987 by a group of 5 partners. Rob Reiner was one of the 5 partners. I did not know that. Very interesting. Yeah, that looks bad. What's it say here? You think that's bad? Look at Bob Saget. Oh yeah, his was really bad too. He's dead now, huh? James Hammond, the founders made it difficult to pass anything. And Brian Newland, I hope I'm wrong, but it sounds like what Carl did to Rob did to his son. What a sick, twisted individual, unflippin' real and disgusting. I have no idea. And I am not going to put that on him, other than the fact to say, what started me digging was President Trump. I would have never been digging into Rob Reiner, except for the fact that I saw what President Trump said, and it was kind of weird to see it. It was kind of weird for me to see him go after a man who's just been taken out. But he did. And yes, that's what it is. All right, so I will see you guys tonight, and we will watch, if you choose to. If you don't feel comfortable, please don't come and cause a problem for the moderators because he's going to be talking about Hanukkah. We don't need to do that. But I'll be doing a lot on the economy earlier in the show. So I'll see you guys tonight.
Yes, October and November for the big.
Yeah, that's one of them. This is better.
Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in a fields where they lay, keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Born is the King of Israel. Shining in the east, beyond them far, and to the earth it gave great light, and so it continued both day and night. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Noel, Noel, born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Jesus, Lord, at thy word. solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they come with peaceful wings and prayer. earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.